Same song. Hey, everybody, welcome. Hey, they had the lineup all ready to go right at 7:25, almost like they knew, man. How's everybody doing today? How you doing? Good to see everybody here. I've got a couple of things going on right now. I'm not sure which ones are working and which ones are not. Oh, hang on. Good to see everybody here. I've got a couple of things going on right now. I'm not sure really quick which ones are working. All right, so we know that one's working. So, sorry, I'm trying to do simulcasting at the moment, and I've never tried it before. There we go. All right, so simulcast obviously is working properly. So I've got synchronized feeds. If you're confused about what's going on, this is being broadcast on both this channel and the mirror channel simultaneously. So it's my first attempt at doing this, and welcome to the experiment. Hi. So sorry about my boisterous opening. I was like, hey, let's get this all going here. Wow, check it out. All right. A lot of funny things going on today, guys. A lot of weirdness. So not sure exactly where to begin. I might begin with an article because, well, my stove is making noise because I started coffee beforehand. And hey, hang on really quick. I started some coffee really quick, folks. And so, but unfortunately, I was a little bit sloppy with the method here, and I got the thing wet before I set it down. So hang on really quick here. Let it dry off really fast so it won't be sizzling the entire time. And there it is. Okay, good. All right, so we solved that problem. It was a little bit distracting for me. I apologize for the interruption there. It's just that, you know, I find that having a cup of coffee right at the start, even if it's evening time, just helps me out a little bit. It keeps my flow going. And I forgot to get it brewing ahead of time. And it's such a strange evening of synchronicities. I'm not sure where to begin. So I'm going to just do it. Yeah, very, very weird. Very weird. So you guys might be familiar. I don't know how many of you are fans of you know, late 80s, early 90s rap music, hip hop, you know, that kind of thing. I myself was very, very much influenced by the genre and the everything about it in the late 80s, especially. This is when I was kind of like, I don't know, transitioning from living in the rural parts of the country in Eastern Washington. And I was just moving into, I would guess you could say, more of like a suburban Denver, Boulder, Colorado area culture. And so these are very, very different places as far as the way people behave and act and the, you know, what you're acclimated to over time. And it wasn't the only cultural, you know, kind of shift that I had gone through. But anyways, the point is that that was around the time that I was discovering a lot of rap music. And, you know, well, I was born in 74, folks. So you can figure, you know, about that time I'm getting to be, you know, 15 years old, starting my second year of high school. And I'm kind of thinking about, you know, I don't know, this is kind of like when, if you're ever going to be angst ridden and bitter about things or just generally pissy about whatever, this is probably around the time that that's going to manifest, is during these particular years, in my experience at least. And that's how it was for me and what I've observed in others. This tends to be when you're kind of on your more rebellious side and saying fight the power. And so I was no less that. I was just a little bit more focused with it, I guess you could say. I you know, how do I say it? I felt a little bit more political about it. It wasn't like it was just like I was just angry about whatever. I was kind of like feeling, I don't know, close to the politics of it. I was, you know, things like civil rights issues and things about understanding, you know, our history better as a culture. All of that were things that were informed by my interest in rap music at the time. And I'd say throughout adulthood, for the most part, I listened to quite a bit of it. It was something that I guess you could say kind of gave me quite a bit of, whatever you want to say. Hang on. All right. And so over time, I guess you could say I just really developed an affection for certain artists, and I listened to them in repetition a lot. And one in particular, I think that really lasted over time that I never really stopped listening to. I think mostly because their music is pretty, I don't know, it's pretty harmless for the most part. Digital Underground. It was just more fun, kind of party music. There was nothing about it. It wasn't like kind of weak and sanitized. I mean, it wasn't like super radio friendly. So it appealed to that rebellious part of your nature, a little bit dirty, but not like, not Two Live Crew dirty, and so I was really into it. I liked it. And I listened to their album Sex Packets quite a bit. And so people have been talking a lot about the artist Shock G. His name is Gregory Jacobs, and his passing away this week. And it just got me thinking about the fact that this guy died in a hotel in Tampa, Florida. And I kept that day, I think there's like a few events that all happened relevant to Florida. There was just all kinds of activities going on there where I was kind of going like, gosh, it just kind of seems like, well, number one, I'm noticing that Florida, like along with Texas, is tends to be amongst the more rebellious in the culture right now, as far as pushing back over the cove restrictions. And so I think that it's a little bit informed by that. It's like I've kind of noticed that the states that tend to push back a little bit on this larger agenda, it's like somebody just like wants to swoop down and like punish them aggressively with, shaming them or, through stupid, cultural things, bad Florida, bad Texas, how dare you, that kind of things. But see, once you get past that obvious kind of cultural shaming thing that no one, I think most intelligent people kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. There's always the easily led ones that kind of that'll hop on and kind of go like, hey, stop that. You're going to create more disease. And it's like, no, actually, those states are actually, guys, diversity and approach. I think even if you accept one science over the other, whether you believe in vaccination science or you don't, there's obvious, what do you want to call it? There's something to be said about just diving right into it. Just saying, okay, fine. Let's just see what happens as far as like, where some people will get it, some people won't. We'll just get past it. We don't have to program ourselves into believing that this is something that's way, way worse than it is. To me, that shows that they're evolved. It says to me that the people aren't just pushing back for, like because they're greedy. No, it's not because they're just like going, no, I can't follow the rules. See, that's what the deep state kind of like channels are really trying to say about them, is like that they're just like these sort of like immature adults that aren't taking proper responsibility for health. And it's like nearly anybody with half a brain at this point kind of knows that Fauci's full of it, and the things with the masks and things like that. So I mean, I don't know, guys. It's I feel like they're punishing Florida. It's like they're kind of going after them a little bit is all. So people can differ on how they feel like we should approach this. My personal opinion is that whatever is going on with it, there was a certain aspect of militarized industrial strength thoughts become things produced COVID and make it continue. And this is one of the reasons why I praise states that are pushing back, because they understand whether they understand or not. They're doing something that's going to help us at a psychoenergetic level relative to the placebo factor within collective disease. Whenever something swarms across an entire civilization, there is always a huge aspect of the way the human brain is helping facilitate the spread of said illness and ailment. The people that choose not to believe in it oftentimes don't even know that it exists. It never even touches them. And the less that they get exposed to the information that reinforces the idea, the less that they ever even experience it. They may never get sick at all, never have a single problem. So what's different about them versus somebody else? I would argue that that's just simply that they've learned the art of hive mind. They've learned that if you just simply don't opt into what the collective consciousness opts into, you won't experience the same thing as the collective conscious. You'll have a slightly different variation of their experience that's mostly your own, I guess. Well, nothing's mostly your own, because we're all kind of pulling it out of a universal plasma field that we're all contributing to. So you have to kind of take that into account also, I guess. But disease and even curing disease all have a placebo hive mind effect. All of it. All of it. I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think those who would argue that, I think that you're kind of, you would have to agree that nearly any doctor worth their weight will say that, that the mind plays heavily into your getting well or not. I've had people verify this for me recently. I'm not going to speak to their details or anything like that, but it made me feel really good inside when somebody's telling me something about the way that they were able to cure by surrounding a person and not believing in what their diagnosis was. Again, not slighting the need for this person to have attention, or not neglecting them, but simply selecting other ways for the person to self-heal through the power of the mind and the body itself to actually cure this ailment, instead of going with the slash and burn methods. And it worked. Now, I didn't encourage that, and it wasn't because of me. It was just simply I had acknowledgement from those people that some of the methods that I've encouraged actually do work relative to self-healing. And some of them, folks, are just the most basic things it's so bizarre. Like, I got mocked for recommending blankets that were Pendleton blankets and 100% wool blankets, so where, like, if you say you're arthritic or you experience a large amount of pain, you can get these blankets and wrap them around your body. And I promise you, you will feel better just having that material wrapped around your body. And there's a mental component to it. Understand that it works. Know the process of it. It helps if you actually can visualize it. And I can help people with that. This isn't voodoo either. It's just understanding what you're doing, because once you do, this works exponentially better. You actually feel that flow going through you when you're like, I cannot believe I am generating energy that's making myself feel better. Yeah, you can. But see, understand that you're going to re-radiate something. So if someone's surrounding you trying to get you to believe in, quote, the disease, and tell you that you're sick, like, you're sick, stay down, you're sick, stay down. Look, guys, you have to take care of yourselves. But if a person keeps trying to program you with you're sick, stay down, you're sick, stay down, then, well, that's programming the water content in your body. That person is believing in the ailment and is sending the ailment to you through intention. Exactly the same way Professor Emoto got that room full of kids to say, gratitude. I'm focusing on gratitude, and I'm staring at this glass of water, and I'm sending my gratitude to the water. And it changes the structure from the crappy tap water to something that just is not nice and crystalline and has been purified just by sending the message of gratitude. It's something that you would mock until you understand that cancer and disease and flus are created much like in the same way. And that you can get rid of them the same way oftentimes. And again, guys, I understand. I'm not going to try to make it all so simple, or I'm not a doctor either. I've just learned that for me personally, I've gone through some pretty horrendous things, and my ability to self-heal has improved exponentially because I learned the mental component of it. I was programming myself into disease. I was programming myself into ailments. And it began by, number one, not wanting to do what I was doing, not liking my life, not being happy and satisfied with what I was doing, to the point where my body began to physically reject doing what I was doing. I literally would get up in the morning and feel sick. I'd get up in the morning and just be like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what it is. The minute I go to go, it's just like, yeah, but it wasn't you guys, there was no disease. There was no disease, but I was experiencing genuine physical symptoms. It's a real thing that was happening to me. I was sometimes just dry heaving in the morning, just at the thought And it's weird because I actually had a pretty cool boss. I'd say most of my peers within my working group were nice people. I didn't have a lot of drama because the leader of the group, I don't think would have really, he's just not a drama-fied guy. He's just so calm. And, it was probably one of the more ideal situations that I had been in as far as like, strength of the organization and things like that, and the pay I was getting. But I, I just couldn't do it. Something felt wrong and I couldn't do it. I had to stop. And so, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly, what that amounts to, folks, but it's just that, all right, I'm trying to think about this whole idea of thoughts become things and why there's like events that get changed and why media organizations like structure false events, quote, fake news. If you'd like to use that nomenclature, that's fine. I call that process, I try to use it more scientific or sociological or psychological terms, like mass resonance manipulation is one, and structural psychology is another. And I'm quoting from Defense Intelligence Agency documentation on these topics, where that's what they use relative to controlling large populations' thoughts. It's from a report, Controlled Offensive Behavior. I've quoted from it in recent material in my Energetics 11. I actually quote on Carillion photography is in there. Think about this. Carillion photography even has a link to what I'm explaining to you. Anyways, folks, I don't know if you looked inside the description section, but I put a whole series of links in there. And I was kind of use this kind of personal thing that I'm kind of like processing here about synchronicity to talk about energy lines. Like, why would I be experiencing these weird synchronicities? Is it a conspiracy? Well, I don't know, guys. I mean, obviously I have some interesting genetic connections that could actually be connected to things that would be this engineered. I'm not engineering them, and I'm not behind that or anything like that. I'm just telling you that I'm all too aware that the connections exist to, quote, manufacture these types of things. It's just that I'm not a participant in it. It just seems to be going on near me and around me and synchronizes to me in ways that are undeniable. Now, the recent revelations are super weird because many of you know I've spent considerable time in Vegas, both last year doing my reports at the Nevada FBI, and I did some this year. And I've kind of bounced around between here in California and Oregon, depending on what was going on or whatever situation. So what made this all strange to me was the fact that Gregory Jacobs was the lead member of Digital Underground. And many of you might remember that he did in the late 80s a song called the Humpty Dance. This came out about the time I was living in Colorado. And I remember I was going to Fairview High School in Boulder, Colorado. I remember when that video came out and everything. For some strange reason, I have a matching imprint of the memory of when Digital Underground came out to that specific school that I went to. It was up on a hill. It gets incredibly powerful winds up there. There's like a couple times when I was going to school there where some of the rich kids that went there, because there's like that kind of school where like some of the kids are driving like Beamers, and it was like a total culture shock for me. I just came from a rural high school where graduating classes are like at the most like 75 kids. That's like a busy senior year. They might have 75 students in the senior year. I mean, I'm just telling you, like, these high schools have like 200 and some students for maybe a few hundred back then in the 80s that I was going to. And then I suddenly find myself in suburban, rich, neighborhood of Boulder, Colorado. And then we moved to Broomfield. So I wound up over there for a little while, but, anyways, that was about the time this all came out. For some strange reason, I have very vivid memories of Digital Underground. It just has an imprint left in Colorado. I don't know why it is. Probably because of the energy lines, which I'll get into. So I was listening to this tape. I had the Digital Underground cassette tape. I listened to it. I was living in Colorado up on Overlook Drive in Broomfield. most of the time that this song came out. And that's on an energy line. And that energy line links globally to all kinds of weird things. And I'm not joking, guys. That house that I lived on is on a hilltop that just has, just like the house we had in Seattle, and just like the house we had not in Seattle exactly, but Woodinville, and the other one in Bothell, they all rest on hilltops, energy lines, and there's something with kinetic water flow underneath. Something that I also personally, though I have no evidence of this, that based on all the circumstances, my gut tells me that all of these things have some degree of uranium connections or some tunneling connections. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been there. I know that one area, Bothell, definitely has the tunnel because it's documented and there's evidence of it. There's two of them. There's two entrances to the tunnels. They go underneath this neighborhood that I grew up in. One's called S-03-LS. It's a Nike missile silo. And then there's a matching hump. They always put them one hump on two hilltops. One will go here, one will go the other one. One's labeled LS and one's labeled CS. So the other one would be S-03-CS. Okay. And they're all like 3 blocks away from where I was born into. It's on my birth certificate and everything. So I just know of what I speak when it comes to these topics involving the underground. So interesting that digital underground. All right. I talk a lot about things that involve analog to digital transitions. I myself was actually involved in an analog to digital transition. They called this thing in the FCC, Federal Communications Commission here in America, who handles and manages our spectrum. They called it the digital sunset. And I was involved with that project back in the early 2000s, where we basically retired all of the analog spectrum and replaced it with digital radios to improve efficiency. And part of that involved just removing all of the analog radios altogether. And we were required to do it by a certain date. And so that was part of something that I was involved in, just a little bit of a coincidence probably. But the digital underground thing is kind of an interesting pattern, I guess, overall. It wasn't just that. Craig Jacobs died this last week in Tampa, Florida. So again, it's an event that happens in Florida. I've noticed they're doing things in Florida and Texas. They just seem to be, a celebrity dies or whatever the case is, or there's something that's controversial, or a politician says something, or it's just like, these are the states that they're really trying to like do events in. And so I was saying to people earlier, even, I was like going, I'm a little bit concerned about that. I'm not concerned in the sense that blah, blah, blah. I said I wouldn't be surprised if Florida and Texas were one of the two places that are like the next on the list for them to do one of those events that gets everybody talking and kind of going like, are you sure that wasn't, that kind of thing, what some would term as a FF or a, what those are called. I'm trying to avoid the buzzwords, but you know what I mean? A fictionalized event with crisis actors. So there may be something like that happens to bury real things and in tandem create a fake event that makes it look really realistic. So again, I just put that out there for folks that you may want to just, be on a heightened state of not awareness, or don't make it happen, but just if something does happen, don't be surprised and don't believe it. Don't believe it. That's all I'm saying. Don't let it like shock you into submission. Don't let it make you, like, oh, okay, now we really need to do this. Like, cause that's what it's going to do. It's guys, it's so bizarre. I think here's the thing, Lisa, like I think what they do is what they'll try to do is do something that just gets people to think that way, And so what I'm trying to do is head that off at the pass. And I'm saying, you guys, if it happens, just immediately know to say, wait a second, we got some advanced warnings on this one, and they told us what it was designed to do. And so we don't have to believe it this time. Like, we've got something that says like, look, here's all the signs of it. And guys, if it does happen, I'm just telling you, like, I'll be there. I'll be there very fast to tell you, like, item by item, all the parts of the story that are fictions and what it was likely designed to hide. Because that's what I've noticed about a lot of these things, guys. One happened in Vegas. I found all the signs of it there. I've talked about it. I've done articles on it. I've posted them since last year. I think some of this will lead back to a whole series of entrances to underground uranium mines that are kind of being hidden out in the Enterprise area of Nevada. and that there's a huge tunnel system that exists there that goes underneath Las Vegas that a lot of the more, I guess, elites kind of know about out here. And it doesn't just do uranium. They're using it for part of what like Elon Musk is doing out here is a distraction for something that's already existed out here for a very long time. It's like they're kind of going like, look, man, I made a high-speed tunnel. Did he? It goes 35 miles per hour in a Tesla car. And the first time somebody gets stuck inside that thing, the whole ride's going to be shut down all day and somebody's going to have to get fished out of that thing. It's stupid. It's a complete waste of money and time. And beyond that, people know that we can do exponentially better. Everybody knows that. And he's got the technology to do exponentially better. So why does he sell everybody on this bogus concept that took so freaking long to finish and barely does anything? Because the whole thing was always designed to be a huge distraction. It was always designed to be a great big, this is as good as we can do, guys. And then SpaceX, raining space junk down on all your states. Wah, wah. That's the best we can do in America on space, I guess. This is as good as we can do on electric cars, man. Ones that can't deliver on any of their commitments or do anything, relevant to, guys, you have to think about it. He's talking about this driverless car thing and patches and how people were going to be able to use these things as like money generating, like food delivery taxis and people delivery taxis because they would be driving themselves. And you could just like, hey, I'm not using my car. I'm going to let it be a robot car all over town and do shit for people. And like, you could make money while you're not driving your car, just having to do things. I mean, there's all these like bizarre, like, things that allegedly the cars were going to be able to do as autonomous driving cars. But I'm just like saying, guys, like, I just look into these things and I'm thinking it's such a ridiculous premise to think that maybe there's a way you can make it work, but not the way that they're talking about it. Guys, you don't think that some little hacker hasn't already thought of a way to jam every autonomous driving signal that goes between car to car? Are you shitting me? Of course they have. Of course they have. Some geek is sitting there at one of these black hat conferences going like, you guys, we already know how to create a 10-car pileup with autonomous cars. Come on. Seriously. All right. So what are you going to do to get around that? Oh, do you have anti-jamming? Are you that James Bond there? Tesla cars? Are you that James Bond? Can you create signal jammers to prevent all those? I mean, what's going to be your security to stop all this? You're just making these cars more and more programmable and hackable by outside sources. And then what's going to happen when you're driving one of these things and you have to know like core code? What's going to happen, guys, when you're driving a car that's a lot like your freaking smartphone, where after a certain point in time, the car company just goes, yeah, sorry, guys, we don't support that software load. And, if you want to use your car still, it's like, sorry, but, it doesn't have good enough hardware to run the core OS of the Tesla, nice software. So you're going to have to... I don't know, guys, whatever, if that's what you want to do. I didn't even get on here to trash on Elon Musk in the classic sense. I'm just saying, like, I was finding all kinds of things underneath Las Vegas that are really popularized. Like, because think about what they make their money off of out in Nevada, guys. It's a lot of uranium mining, underground tunneling, space program things like Area 51, Skunk Works projects with defense groups and things like that at Area 51, experimental aircraft at Area 51. What else they got out here? We all know casinos, but what else did they've got, guys? You have to think about it. Once you get past casinos, what are the underground economies? They're underground economies. They're literally underground economies. And then you got to think about it. Why would it be such an appealing thing for Vegas to be a major hub of underground tunnel systems and hubs that go high speed? Well, think about it, guys. Of course, Vegas is the place. This is the land of excess. This is the place where you can come in here and blend in all these tall hotels and a bazillion different places. Yes, they're coming in underground. It gives a whole bunch of people that are like rich and from foreign countries the ability to get in without ever even crossing a border or showing a passport. Are you shitting me? Of course they got that going on. And how would I know? Oh, wow. Okay, because I lived here. The whole point, the reason why my family lived here and moved here back in 91, I think. Yeah, 91 is when we moved here. Vegas, yeah. Was because of the Yucca Mountain repository. And Yucca Mountain was basically just this enormous facility to house nuclear waste. And And that's basically what, they were planning on shipping it from like different nuclear plants all across the world that were going, not across the world, but across the country, excuse me, that were going under cleanup projects, and then glassifying all the nuclear waste into these portable, transportable portable rods, uranium rods. That's why I try to tell people, like, anytime you think uranium, think the word rod. And if you ever get into like a Department of Energy like facility type, like you're researching something and you begin noticing a suspicious number of people that work there named Rod, but you also observe that in life, you almost never meet people named Rod. That should tell you something right away. Okay, these are buffer characters that do things relevant to the nuclear industry. I've seen it, guys. I have evidence of it. They'll literally name a CEO of the lab Rod. Then they'll have a guy sign off on EPA toxic waste fund projects named Rod. And they all have fake sounding last names, or ones that sound like you combined 3 of my family members' names into one name. Don't ask me why that is. One can only guess. I guess coincidence. Must be cosmic coincidence, because that just seems to be the case with everybody. I don't know. They don't talk to me, so. Maybe it was that time that I showed one of these forms to one of them. I said, hey, this kind of looks like you kind of made this shit up. Can you answer to that for me? That's kind of what happened. In case you want to know what happens when you actually, guys, what's bizarre to me? I was always taught that that's how you handle things. When you find something like that, you don't just sit on it, or you don't just like pass rumors or talk shit in the background. When you see something like that, you kind of go to the person, you say, like, listen, I found this. I'm concerned. I want to show this to you. I want to know, does this mean something that's of greater significance? Because it kind of makes you look corrupt, and it kind of makes you look like you abused your authority where you worked for many years. And it kind of makes me, I don't know, makes me feel a little bit weird about you right now, especially because I noticed that one of the people whose name's on this form is a family friend of ours. And, I got to wonder why they're signing off on something that's this important, and why this other guy here is a person that, when I look up his name, has your name, and his last name is Wolf in Spanish. I think that's interesting. And then I kind of noticed that the same pattern is same first name as your first name. And well, that's the guy who's leading the lab where, our mutual relative works. And he kind of seems like a fake character, which makes me wonder, does he work at the lab, or does the lab work for him? Kind of seems like the lab works for them. I don't know, though, but if I were a person that were more in the know, that were out there, I would say that quite a few people there must know who really runs it by now, and who really has control over these things by now. And then you guys got to know what that all really translates to, because really everything to do with the Department of Energy is to do with the underground. Everything to do with these Q clearance. Everybody talks about Q this, Q that. Let me explain to you what that's all about, guys. It's just a way to talk about Q clearance tunnels over and over again. Whoever made that up was Department of Energy. It was designed to get you all to not do anything while you waited for somebody for 4 years. And look where we are, everyone. Congratulations, man. I just love all of you Q people. I'm being a wise ass because I'm so sick of this. You're still talking about it. Stop. 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 What is it doing for you? Will you listen to some real information, please? I have no cryptograms. I have no puzzles. I just have truth. And guys like me, you all go, what's the Q drop? Yeah, Gabe, but what did Q say? Do you think he's the baby Q or he's the re-Q? Stop. And you're still talking about it. Even those of you who pretend like, we got duped, you guys. We got duped. You didn't get duped. You were helping them dupe the rest. Stop it. I did my best to get some of those people into like some truth, but they all just sit there going like, yeah, but what did Q say? You guys work at the Q clearance labs. Those of you who keep going into that circle, you work there. Stop it. You work at the lab. You have like 30 characters that you'll play on Twitter that all reinforce the narrative that gets everybody wasting their time. What's the newest one? I'm not picking on anybody, I promise you. It's just that people bring this to me. But what's the newest one that they're doing? They're going to keep telling you what? That this guy's JFK? That he's working with Roseanne Barr? Oh, wow, that'll really help. Yeah, how did that work out last time, guys? Would you stop already? Yeah, I'm helping. What you got to say, Juan? Yeah, that helps, guys. I'm so glad that my information, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick to anybody. I just kind of wonder why, I don't know. I just wonder how these people have like millions of people following them, and it's all cryptograms. It's all puzzles. They never tell you a thing. They just lead you down to the next step of, will somebody come back from the dead? You know something, guys? Maybe people have disappeared. Maybe people who never don't. Here's the thing, guys, but I'm telling you the real deal on how that works. Can we agree? This isn't to chastise this audience. You guys are pretty cool. What I'm saying is like, I'm wondering what the hell's going on with these narratives that are still permeating. They really, honestly, guys, when I think of Q, it really feels like the whole thing is a great big partnership between insiders at Department of Justice, FBI, Department of Energy, and they all abused the Smith-Mundt Authorization Act, which gave them clearance to literally manufacture propaganda to be used on American soil on Americans. It's a part of the National Defense Authorization. It was something that was expanded on, I believe, in 2012 by the Obama administration. And it just so happens, guys, that I have a relative that was connected to Governor Gary Locke, who was the former governor of Washington State. He went on to become a two-time Obama appointee. One of his roles was Secretary of Commerce. The other role was ambassador to China. Now, if I'm telling you guys that I find CEOs of companies that run the Department of Energy labs that I'm conscious and aware are just a few different people's names mixed together to create a buffer character that represents them, then what do you think I'm telling you just now about that? Think it through a little bit. It's one of the reasons why, guys, I try to basically tell people more about like this whole thing involving, what do you want to call it? Just generally, well, yeah, I mean, look, guys, is there that many people involved? I think that, how do I say it, guys? Yeah, I mean, you got DOJ, FBI, and DOE as some central things or whatever, but I don't think it's like all of them. It's just simply that I think that what happened is, and I was even kind of given this as a tip off, is that they kind of became conscious and aware in certain pockets that there's no way in hell. It's like they knew almost through prediction modeling that they were going to basically be rendered irrelevant once computing got to a certain level. Guys, I mean, you just can't get away with anything anymore. I don't care if you think you are, you're really not. You know what's going on right now? No one's really getting away with anything. It's like the people that I just told you about, those groups that are kind of running this, they're like Santa Claus. Except this Santa Claus is like, they're looking for you to do shitty things. They want you to. They want you to be a criminal. He knows when you are sleeping. He knows when you are awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be bad and you'll get recruited and become an informant for the FBI, for goodness sake. You understand? That's the message, guys. Be bad, become an informant, get protected, get recruited. Where do you sign up? Because, guys, when you just go straight into the office and offer your help, they go, did that happen? I'm pretty sure I just wrote down your entire testimony in pencil and threw it in the fucking trash. By the way, if you'd like to do the electronic equivalent of what I just did to you, you can go down to Starbucks and upload all your information to the IC3 database. Signed, the FBI. That's kind of what I got for real, you guys. I mean, you know, it wasn't quite that unprofessional, obviously, but it far from lacked. It far from how do I say? I didn't get the kind of professionalism I expected. So I get it, guys. I think I have some weird information. I understand that that doesn't always jive because it challenges people's, ideas of the way the world works. And my information does not match that sometimes. Sometimes people have a completely different idea of what reality is, both in those agencies as well as the general population. I'm just becoming less convinced over time that groups that close to the FBI are that unaware. I think that the marriage between I've always heard for decades now that there's always been this huge partnership that's existed between the FBI and Disney, and that you really can't separate the FBI from Disney. That they were created kind of like the same time for the same reasons, like they exist in tandem. They're inseparable. That everything to do with Disney has always been sort of a propaganda wing, okay, for the FBI. It's been about passing information. It's been about to some degree, it looks to me like they definitely, because I was told this a while ago, that the FBI within certain groups of insiders do have access to the whole timeline technologies. Of course, they're going to. I mean, at some point, at least one or two agencies, whether they get it, I think it's just become our system so huge now, folks, that like, it's not like you can have one looking glass. You see where I'm going with this? The looking glass is going to find its way into like one defense department is going to think that they have it. And then you're going to have FBI thinking they have it. CIA thinks they've got a couple of them and that it's it. You know what I mean? Until they discover, oh, you've got one over there too. Well, what are you doing with it? And then the more of these groups that start getting involved with things that involve timeline manipulation, even if you think, and it's not travel, guys, I really don't think that they're traveling. I think what they're doing is they're peering in and they're able to send information back and forth. But there's still danger in that, because what you have is a whole bunch of people that are all doing this. The more they get added to it, it's a little bit like you're playing like a multiplayer game, those who play those like video games still. Think about think of a multiplayer game that you play where it's fun if you have maybe like, I don't know, like 3 players on each side. Like that's a good matchup with the different things or whatever. And then suddenly somebody comes in and it like brings in like, 100 people into your multiplayer environment, and you can't find your 3 friends anywhere inside this gaming environment to even know that you like, it's just like, well, hey, we were having so much fun. It was 3-on-3 and now there's like 100 other people in here. There's so much crossfire. You can't even play the freaking game. I'm talking about like shooter games. It's a little bit like that. But with timelines. And now you've got so many different groups that have the ability to sort of like kind of see in and maybe get a little bit of things going back and forth. And they figured out the secret that what we're really learning now, and this is part of what I think I'm here to do, is just to kind of give people like, I really don't like to think of myself as an educator in that sense, but I know things about this to where I can explain it in a way that's not, I'm not trying to confuse you. That's all I'm trying to say. Like if somebody says, can you clarify that? I'm really going to do my best, as long as you're not being impossible about letting me clarify it. You have to let me, but yeah, I'll explain it scientifically. And if you say like, what do you mean that can work? How? I'll say, okay, well, which part don't you understand? All right. Okay. All right. So if you want me to, I can give you a quick explanation for those who are kind of wondering what I'm talking about with timelines, is to say that looking glass, as I've learned it to be, is something that involves both computing and it also involves human plasma, and that it's a frequency process that where the machine is part of it, but the human component is also a necessary part of it. The machine must interface with a human who must interface with another human who interfaces with the machine back, like as a loop. And so it creates the link between human to human. And the way they facilitate that is through the use of Rh negative and O blood type bioplasma, because it is the universal plasma field. Everything else would have an incompatibility and have a limited flow where it could go. It could only go to certain groups. It can only travel. If it's A minus, then it only travels across, etherically, across the groups that are compatible with A minus. You see where I'm going with this? And so the looking glass technology is a less valuable tool if you have anything but pure Rh negative and O blood type plasma. Well, then you can understand kind of what's going on here then. The same people that learned that, how did they know that? How did they ever learn what you can do through consumption of another person's plasma, which is really just like saying that you're separating something from their blood and eating or consuming it. Starting to get what I'm saying. All right. Here's where I need you guys to understand this a little bit better. That's why I have a tendency to discuss vampirism and cannibalism here in a way that I'm trying to get people to think of it as more of a scientific process. I'm not warming you up to it. Just remember that. I've made jokes about it before, but trust me on this one, folks. I find nothing acceptable about it. I'm not trying to get you to accept it. I got tips from people that said that there's different variations on people that practice this type of tradition and that they're not all the same. Again, I'm not saying that I believe that or I'm okay with it. But what I'm telling you is the people that are less deranged that have partaked in these practices, what would be one way that's less deranged? I know what you're saying. There's no way in hell it could be, but there is. There were people that as an ancient tradition believed that they should consume a part of their relative after they pass away. You can accept that or not. You can practice it or not on your own terms. That's to me a free will decision. If you are born into a family that believes in that and they all practice it amongst each other and you partake in it too and you consent to it, you must consent to it, not under duress or dead, then I don't have a problem with those people. And if they give me information, great. What they said is that the thing that is about cannibalism and blood is that it actually does provide you access to other people's perceivable time. Space and time don't exist, okay? We exist in a universal plasma field, so all there is DNA as energy signatures unique to individuals. Thinking about a person can link you to a DNA signature. It's amazing what you can do with plasma. Thoughts become things. You can build the link through thinking about it. Believing in it is a part of it. I'm sorry, guys. I know. You can think whatever you want to about this, but it does explain something deeper. You must know. So that's why these people became, I guess you could say, valued by intelligence circles. And they told me that. Some were gifted careers in Hollywood. Some were in Hollywood and intelligence circles. They provided information historically to the FBI, CIA, and military in both foreign intelligence and domestic intelligence gathering operations. And some of them do, in fact, practice this tradition of cannibalism. And what it does, they say, is it gives you a pathway, a link to that person's DNA strand. And so if it's a family member, like a close family member of somebody that you could say is like your enemy or you're seeking information on, and you can gain a little bit of their, quote, plasma or their blood or an actual piece of their flesh and the other person consumes it, you establish this link. It's because there is no space and time. There's only energy. And so what you're really doing is you're getting that person's essence through the transfer of the plasma from their body to your body, which is an energy process of an energy signature. So what happens there is you build an etheric cord, because when you take in that person's DNA, it does not belong there. So now etherically, it wants to go return to sender. So etherically, it builds the return to sender link back. Now you established a psychoenergetic link. Now you have access to the individual. Now this person is accessible by the person that took in the drop. You can believe it or you can't. It's irrelevant, guys. I think that it's probably, once it was described to me that way, I was like, that makes total sense. And so they said that that they were recruited, the people that do this on the sidelines. They said, look, there's these people, but we amongst us, we don't like these people that are the ones that practice this like dark cannibalism. They're hunters. They're people that enjoy the trauma aspect of it. What they do when they're practicing cannibalism is they're literally trying to get that person's face imprinted. Like they want their face to terrify that person. They want their name in that person's subconscious. They want everything to do with their bloodline, their influence, every character. If they're an actor, it's going to be all their characters. They're going to drive it into this person as much as possible and then, perform the sacrifice. And that gives them energy and it establishes the link. And then it gives them the ability to find the others more readily. And that's what they're kind of trying to do. It's a way to find enemies. It establishes cybernetic links, and then you can go locate the others. So they were trying to, like, you can understand why, if you could find a socially acceptable way to practice this, why the military would be interested in it. They studied these things. They studied cannibal warlords in other countries, and they were like, why are these people able to find their enemies like that? Why can they just zoom in on them like they've got a freaking radar inside their brain? Because they do. They've established that etheric link. It's just like a cell tower, you guys. Like, I mean, to them, within their ability to do these things, it is nearly as spookily accurate as like a GPS unit going and finding your directions to a location. They can do this with the Aether by having a cybernetic link using DNA to you. That's it. It's really that simple. So it was studied as part of like Project Stargate, Stargate Project, Sunstreak, Grill Flame, Center Lane. All of these were part of the psychic research projects where some of these things were learned and studied. Now you can kind of understand why they want the whole freaking thing to be 100% secret, and nearly anybody involved in it, they definitely want to like be totally like, they don't want you to know their real names, because they were really recruiting people oftentimes that you probably already know their names. You probably have already seen them before, and they've been out in the open for a very long time, and they've been doing intelligence work right in front of you. And sometimes those films are a part of it. Sometimes the television shows are, in fact, not only it's not just because they're doing it for fun. It's literally part of everything they're doing with both. I guess you could say it's a form of crime prevention, they're saying, but it's not really translating to that. It's more like it's timeline manipulation to benefit a certain group. The problem is, folks, I think once you get involved with this, it's just too tempting to change reality. It's too tempting to change everybody like their chess pieces inside your chessboard. And you begin forgetting that everybody else's energy is independent and sovereign from the universal plasma field. That's the part that we have to respect about free will if we're really going to get around and be okay with each other, folks, is that we must understand energetics better so that we can understand the importance of the sovereignty of the human mind and the human body relative to frequency, vibration, and energy. That it does change a person's ability to make a free will decision. It just does. I wish I could say that everything was cut and dry anymore when it came to these things, but it just isn't. I've seen them, folks. I wish I've seen people changed by it. I've seen people that had nothing that I would have ever been concerned about before have radical changes in their personality where I'm going, what are you doing? Who are you right now? You look like you're turning into a completely different person in front of me. And I know I'm not, I mean, like, they don't physically change. It's not like they're shape-shifting, guys. It's just that sometimes their behavior would just turn 100% like bark at the moon, completely opposite of the way they were before. And it's difficult to explain, guys. What's an energy line? An energy line is, and I want to talk about this in my presentations, okay, but the energy lines are factoring into all of this. And that's one of the reasons why I put that as a main tag inside this thing tonight, is that once we begin to really unravel this information about why these weird events are happening, these strange synchronicities, you're going to learn that some of them are engineered in part, and other ones are happening because of the energy lines and the way that things synchronize across energy lines when they're at these certain trajectories, because of the way that taps into the human brain and the Fibonacci spiral. It's just that there's a way that we tap into reality and that we process reality in a spiral, and that it's sort of like print. Like I tried saying it yesterday. It's like we're all together. We're like an inkjet printer that's just going in different colors, right? You put all your ink cartridges in, and we're all like those different ink cartridges in. Some of us have all of them. We're like one big multicolored ink cartridge pack. That would be like a blood group that's Rh negative and O blood type. And some, like, one is just the blue, one is just the red, one is just the whatever, right? Now you're getting into the other types of blood groups where, when you combine these two, they make this color perhaps, but they can't make the entire rainbow color spectrum. That's all it is, guys, with plasma. Like, you're limited into the links that you can make when you don't have the Rh negative and the O blood type. And that's why it's become the market economy that it has. That's all, folks. It's a fuel. It's a fuel, and people, I think, can get rich off it the same way they can get rich off of very fine amounts of like highly enriched uranium. And that's another thing, guys. Like I didn't know this until I was seeing like reports about uranium-1, that like what a high value that highly enriched uranium is compared to other materials. Like what a gram, I guess, of like that uranium costs relative to other things that are a gram. I'm just like, whoa, really? Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when they get LEU, low enriched uranium, but to get into that highly enriched process is a very, very expensive process where it's a limited hangout, where there's only so many people that can do it, will do it, and where they have the safety clearances to do it. And so that's part of most of what drives the price of it. But it's just such a strange thing to, I don't know, guys, like all of these things that I'm talking about really will lead back to uranium as a central economy. It's linked to these film studios like the Disneys. And then once you know that Disney was always a partner with the FBI, then you start asking yourself, well, why? And what did that translate to partnership wise? And how would that still be operating today? I would argue that like, for example, guys, when I found a relative of mine that worked at the Department of Justice, the news organization that interviewed them was ABC News. Well, I'm not dumb. I can look up media ownership. ABC is owned by, well, they're merged with Disney. It's Disney ABC Studios. They're the same thing. That's the one that interviewed her. So then it made me start questioning things. It made me go, yeah, I mean, that person shows up to their job. I think that they're doing that job, yet there does appear to be quite a bit of things around them that look to me like it's part of a Hollywood film, that it looks like it's just like it's acting. And then the more I started noticing things like the Riverside shooting, and that was suspicious. And I actually had a cousin that was in the building when it happened. No offense to that cousin. He's a cool guy. So please don't be pissed off at me because I say things like this. I don't know what to say, guys. I can't just sit around when everybody else knows that about me, that's like at that level. If I did these public presentations and never mentioned that, how would I look if I never told you one of my cousins was in that shooting? Again, not as some high profile person in it, but they were in the building. That piqued my interest. Again, nice guy. Guys, don't get pissed at me. So I was kind of going, man, how is all this really happening? These weird synchronicities. Let me think here. The number 57 seems to be a thing. Isn't it weird that Heinz 57 is like 57, right? Is the brand Heinz 57? It just occurred to me like today, I've thought that before, but I never circle back on it to go like, yeah, Heinz is 57 on the bottle. That is a relevant number for that. And so it occurred to me, I about 5 years ago started doing interviews, and I haven't lately. I kind of decided not to anymore do interviews over at the Basis Project. But what Miles Johnston does over there, I might, dude, if he wanted to, I would consider it again. But I just started to get really pissed because nearly every time I'd get on that venue, I'd notice that somebody that I knew was a shill would get on right after me. And it's almost like they themselves were doing a mocking ritual. And I'm like going, dude, do you really not know who these people are? This is pissing me off. So that's the reason why, And so I say, I kind of go, okay, well, all right, so there's that, right? So they label me bases number 57, okay? And, if you're not familiar, I can hang on here. I can show you a brief thing on that, just to give you a quick, just the history. Those who don't see my comments thing. But there it is. Former cell phone tower designer Gabe Cruz. Yeah, I'm not one, dude. That's why I don't like showing this article to people. It pisses me off. I never consented to that. I've made that. I've made that over and over again. Don't ever use those letters on me. Let me tell you something. The motherfuckers that are behind that program, they're the ones that need to be worried about me. I'm borrowing that from KRS-One. I they're not the conspiracy for us to be worried about. They should be worried about us. Because I know a lot. Yeah, but anyways, this is, I'm not sure why. Yeah, so that's me on Basis Project. But if you notice here, that's my number, Basis 57, and it says, you know, Tule Lake, Merrill, Oregon. But that's me. You can all agree, right? Okay. So there's that. So you got Heinz 57. So I'm kind of wondering, why did I get 57? And there you go. Yeah, ETA 57 Chevy is an iconic model. On that note, that's where we're going to get deep into the next part here, guys. I've also found information about Chevy Chase that tripped me the hell out. Now, guys, every time I look at old photos of Chevy Chase, the resemblance is a little weird from photos when I was in my adolescence, especially. I don't think I look as much like him today, but when I was younger, a lot, and I would get told a lot that I looked like Chevy Chase. And then I did this whole decrypt on his video, You Can Call Me Al, and the whole thing about 57 Chevy. That was also like, my mother was always into talking about 57 Chevys, like ETA just said, as you know, 57 Chevy, 57 Chevy. Oh, I just love those 57 Chevys. Oh, they're so pretty. They look like a car. I don't know what year the truck that we had, but we did have a 50s, somewhere in the 50s model of Chevy pickup truck also, and that might have been the 57 also. It could have been another one of many. I don't remember exactly. I think it was a 55 he had, but I don't remember. Oh, okay, that's interesting too, right? 5G. That's very interesting. 57, 5G. That's another good, interesting point. Lightbringer brought that one up. So, yeah, very good point. Very good decrypt there. Yeah, 5G. So egg. I've also whenever I interpret it, I think of just the direct. I don't even think of, swapping one letter in one thing or whatever. I always think EG for egg, because they do that one also. Chevy Chase, egg roll. They everything they do is like, they like using Carl a lot because it means roll the car roll. And what happens when you roll a car? Well, the person who gets rescued, all the EMT has to do, if they're corrupt, is show up and go, and then you'd get delivered to the hospital brain dead, from a accident that you might have survived. And just the fact that the car got rolled, no one's going to be surprised if it happens, even if you survived and had not hardly a scratch and were in a great car. And that's the reason why, and I brought that up, guys, part of the organ harvesting network does involve some degree of corrupt EMS. And I don't think it's a huge problem, but the thing I learned was, like, they don't get away with this by just simply, like, putting people on a list of it's not that simple. They've got to make you undesirable. They've got to make you look like a person that's ripe to have something happen to them and deserve it. So whatever is part of the organ harvesting network that is behind all this, there's always a lot of disinformation, or in some cases, actual information. I mean, really, the point is just to incentivize people to harm whoever it is that they want to harvest. And so if you have Rh negative and O blood type, then there will be, more than likely, in many cases, I mean, if you give in willfully and you're like them and you do what they do, then you'll never experience this. If you're completely dormant and you're very passive, then yeah, you'll probably never even get a sign of it or anything else like that. But like the ones that push back, then yeah, they're going to aggressively try to get into your perception a little bit, because if they can't change your perceptions, which is changing the plasma field exponentially, those who have the rarest blood groups, they change it the most, guys. There's a reason why, like, Those blood groups are sought by Scientology. There's a reason why those blood groups are always presidents. There's a reason why those blood groups are always put into Hollywood and major Hollywood productions, because they form a structure around them that other blood groups just can't achieve, guys. It's just, the person can be a total moron too. I don't think you understand what I'm telling you. I don't think that it makes the person special and or even more intelligent than average. It just means that they've got a blood group that allows more to flow through them within that etheric color binding frequency, vibration, and plasma thing. You know, the same way when you look at that crystal, like, you know, you can look at these crystals in various forms and see how it reflects against the light, you know. It's kind of hard because I don't have that much light right now, but you can kind of get some of the luminescence when you look into it a little bit. And it's like that, you know, and they can bend more of that universal plasma field, and they can create more of the color spectrum within it. And everything else would have to kind of flow through them. It's just like every fountain has a place where the water begins to come out through before it dissipates outward like this, correct? There's always a source where the water comes from, you know, when it's one of those types. Or, yeah, I mean, there you go. And then some fountains, they just function with spigots all the way around, right? I'm just talking about like the fleur de lune type fountain, you know, that type of whatever we're saying here. But what was the other 57 things that were kind of tripping me out? Well, let's go back full circle to the Humpty Hump thing. So Gregory Jacobs, a hip hop artist, died in Tampa, Florida. See, I combined it, guys. See, all of you who live in Tampa, Florida, I did you a solid just now. You can shorten it by calling it Flampa. See, dude, like you'll save minutes on your lifeline now. For all the times you were going to say Tampa, Florida, just say Flampa now. See, like that'll save you a minute. That's another minute you get with your family towards the end. You can thank me then. Sorry, because it's a sad story actually, so it's not funny. But but Gregory Jacobs was found dead in a hotel room in Tampa, Florida, and what do you want to call it? He was the lead singer though of this band, the Digital Underground. And for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about with Digital Underground, the reason why I think this is a super relevant case in particular is if you know the history of that band, you'll understand how like central they were to basically everything that bridged 80s hip hop into what became 90s hip hop and rap music and changed our entire culture. Shock G wasn't just any guy, Gregory Jacobs. His character was a dual. He had an alter. And so he had all of the rhymes he did as Shock G. And so he did a lot of songs where he'd come out there, it's like, yeah, I'm Shock G. He had a voice that was really smooth like this. Yeah, kill it, Shock G, Shock G. You know, like he'd always say things, you know, like really cool phraseologies. And anyways, but his name was Shock, is weird. I learned actually this week that his name was going to be Shah, Shahg, because the guy that he was going to be partnered with had a name that was Shah something else. And so they thought it would be cool for him to also be named Shah G. And he misunderstood them and thought that he was, you know, Shock G. And so he's like, yeah, I like that. Shock G, man. That's cool. So he became Shock G. What's weird about this though is that he in particular helped produce Tupac Shakur's album. And now talking about the whole Chevy thing, right? 57 Chevy Chase. I looked like Chevy when I was younger. Now, the one movie that Shock G appeared in, I'm not sure. I don't think he ever did any other movies. He made one movie, and so did, well, Tupac Shakur acted in quite a few. But before he became like more of a popular actor in Hollywood doing films, Tupac Shakur had a brief cameo with Shock G, Humpty Hump, aka Gregory Jacobs, in the movie Nothing But Trouble that was released in the beginning of 1991. This movie stars Chevy Chase, Dan Akroyd, John Candy, Demi Moore, and has some other comedic actors in it too that are pretty relevant. Taylor Negron, he's in it. Relevant for a lot of reasons that I could get into, but I'm not sure I want to go there tonight. He's dead also, by the way. That actor passed away I think about 3 years ago. And he's kind of on the younger side as well. And so here's the thing. It's a Chevy Chase movie. And then tonight, I was kind of going through, I was paying closer attention to it, trying to review it critically, because it just snapped in the back of my mind like, that's right. Shock G died at 57 Chevy. He was in a movie with Chevy Chase called Nothing But Trouble. And in it, there's this judge that basically just meters out brutal justice over insignificant things. And, so if you go out to the middle of the country and you get caught speeding, he basically, will sentence you to death in like some fiery pit and that kind of thing, like, oh, I caught you with drugs. Like, and he sends them into some literally like into some like bone crunching machine and everything like that, where they get thrown out into the dump and these mutant monsters like chomp on them or something like that. I mean, it's a really, really strange movie, but it's a it's out there though. And in it, and there's a courtroom scene towards, I don't know, about 2/3 into the movie, where some of the people that come in to have their court case heard is the band Digital Underground. They're like, hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, I got arrested by these redneck crackers here. What's going on, man? They're trying to get us here. And so Humpty Hump is like, has lines in it even, right? And that's such a strange thing, man. Like, of all the freaking movies, this one guy that dies all around the same time that this is happening. And then you guys got to think about the next connection that exists here. Not only were all these guys in this movie in 1991 together, but Tupac Shakur had his album produced by this man that just died. And Tupac Shakur was killed in Las Vegas on Flamingo and Koval. I'll tell you another time why that's relevant. I'm basis 57 Chevy. He dies at the age of 57. And I've been documented about talking about this number 57 thing, and I'll show you the article tonight. I've also done Humpty Hump, Shock G's song, many times. By the way, guys, I am so good at Humpty Hump, I do not even need a lyric sheet. I've been doing that song for so long. I can do it right now. I'm gonna do it. All right, stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I look funny. But y'all making money, see? So yo, world, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round. I'm the new fool in town, and my sounds laid down by the underground. I drink up all the Hennessy you got on your shelf, so just let me introduce myself. My name is Humpty, pronounced with the umpty. Yo, ladies, yo, how I like to bump thee. And all the rappers on the top 10, please allow me to thump thee. I'm stepping tall, y'all. And just like Humpty Dumpty, you get a fall when the stereos bump me. I like to rhyme. I screwed up. I like to rhyme. I like my beat spunk me. I am screwing up tonight. I like the rhyme. I like to be spunky. I'm funky. I like my oatmeal lumpy. I'm sick with this. Straight gangsta Mac. But sometimes I get ridiculous. I eat up all your crackers and your licorice. Hey, yo, fat girl. Come here. Are you ticulous? Yeah, I called you fat. Look at me. I'm skinny. It doesn't stop me from getting busy. I'm a freak. I like the girls with the boom. I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom. I'm crazy. Allow me to amaze thee. They say I'm ugly, but it just don't faze me. I'm still getting in the girls' pants, and I even got my own dance. The Humpty Dance. Here's your chance. Do the hump. Oh, do me, baby. Do the Humpty Hump. Do the Humpty Hump. Nobody remembers this song? All right, they say, oh, Humpty, you're really funny looking. That's all right, because I get things cooking. You stare, you glare, you're constantly trying to compare me, but you can't get near me. I'm good. I'm normally way better at it, guys. Tonight, I've got something weird going on. It's like what I'd said, flampa. Normally, my flow is very, very good. I even did Bring the Noise one time pretty consistently by Public Enemy. So I can normally do these songs pretty good, and especially anything by Digital Underground, because I listen to those songs like in repetition. I wore those cassettes out. I played them all across the country, back and forth. I mean, yeah. And I've done it, guys, I've done it at least twice on YouTube, at least. And I've done it in my live presentations before. And like, hey, who wants a song? You want me to do Humpty Hump? So it's weird that that's the guy that this happens to. And so I'm like going, okay, so that's all strange, right? And then, so that happens. And what's the other weirdness here, guys? There's another link to all this that I wanted to like mention. Um, but yeah, all right. So can you guys kind of understand like why I thought that death in particular was a little bit odd? And then the link between him and Tupac Shakur and Tupac having died in Las Vegas. Now, it's even stranger when you talk about how I actually referenced Tupac Shakur like a couple months ago, where I said to people like, "Hey man, someone they said straight up to me, they said, look, dude, things are bad, but people got a choice. They can either face you as Gabriel Cruz, or we're just going to find a way to put you someplace else. And we're going to just make it to where you're still you. And we're going to act like you're not around anymore. Yet everybody's going to know that you are. It's going to do the same thing that a lot of these people do. It's like the way that Tupac released, like, 3 or 4 albums worth of material or something like that after he died. It's like, how many songs did you record, Tupac? Really? Did you have as many songs as Prince, or are you still recording them? We in the 90s we were wondering, I'm just saying, yeah, you heard California Love and all those songs that were released on his albums, but did you hear, like, there was like a whole bunch of these other ones that just seemed to get released after even his Machiavelli album. And then he had an album that he called The Dawn Killuminati. The Dawn Killuminati. The Dawn Kill. I want you to think about all the things about Don Corleone, about how I told everybody that Don Corleone is really about the core to the earth, the core to Leon, Mexico. It's about a tunnel system. It's about underground uranium mines. It's all about it, guys. There's really no separating Hollywood from uranium. And I think that that's the thing I finally got hip to. Even after all the time I spent in Nevada, I finally got hip to that, like, Nevada really is like Hollywood's, like, how do I say it? It's like their dusty, like, desert backyard where they go to party and shoot off guns and get away with whatever the hell they want to. That's what Nevada became for Hollywood. It's just a place for them to get away and just do whatever the hell they want, because they knew there was nobody out here, it's like that Pee Wee Herman thing. Go ahead and scream. Nobody's going to hear you for miles. It's like that. I don't mean to make that humorous or anything like that, but, there's something to the culture here that's like that. And I started to get hip to that last year, that's the culture of Vegas. It's become that. It's literally the kind of culture now where I swear, guys, I really feel like we're at a point now where I would not be surprised if somebody just straight up snatched a child out of a store here, dragged it across the street, and told everybody that they were going to be selling it to some pimp up the road, and there's nothing you can do about it. I think we're getting to the point now, guys, where things like that might start to happen if we don't get some actual people that do their jobs at that federal level. Because once you understand that this problem is out of control because of them, because they've basically just created so many fictions that they don't even know how to enforce the law now. They only know how to make things up that they know how to themselves take down. They know how to set up stages. They know how to set up stages in life. They know how to set up a stage and a whole narrative for you to believe, for their own agents to believe, for the rest of the world to believe. For what? So they don't have to do anything. So they can pretend that they're bringing in an informant for witness relocation, which is really, welcome to the team. You're one of us. We knew you knew how to steal and cheat and kill. Welcome to the FBI informant program. Can't wait to have you. Yeah, just keep doing what you've been doing, but just tell us everything about everybody around you, okay? Because I promise you guys, when you're just a good citizen that wants to report something, it's a little bit like going, we already have informants. What will we need with you? Who are your informants? Oh, you know all those cartels and gangs out there? Uh-huh. Yeah, those are ours. So who's enforcing federal law? Well, they're turning all the other ones in. The other what? Your competition? For what? To get recruited by you? Because if I turned in any of these people, I'm pretty sure that you send them to come after me. You don't bring me in and let me be an informant, do you? That's the power of the mafia in Nevada, just to let you guys know. Yep. Oh, yeah, guys, you have no idea. I mean, plain, they're creating the sides that we all take. That's the problem. That's why I would just like everybody to exit the sides. Exit the side system, guys. I mean, just stop being on a side. I mean, yeah, we have to have partnerships and alliances, but I mean, yeah, the best thing for all of us to do, and I'm sure most of you agree, yeah, is just to really just stop, stop choosing the chessboard and just start to critically review everything as it comes in. And then the more you do that, the more you realize that you just don't want to let the news come in anymore because you know what it's doing to you. Even getting you to critically review it is allowing it into your subconscious in ways that are helping them program it. It's so infuriating at times once you really get the game. It's like, wow, man, they're really doing this. Like, if I'm going to function with everybody else in reality, I have to allow this to my brain to become a passive conduit of their intention. Even right down to this news story I'm telling you about tonight, guys. The reason why I'm saying this one in particular is because I don't know what happened to Gregory Jacobs. I really don't. I'm not prepared to say the guy's actually dead even. Why 57? Was he killed or did he just go away? Maybe he's just a guy that, maybe he's a nice guy that's just decided that, all right, maybe he doesn't want to do whatever's going to happen next. He doesn't want to be here for it. And he's just going to go underground, digital underground. Maybe this event was to tell people to start going underground. Maybe it was a marker because just like it worked before, they don't put it out like as a news story, go, hey, everybody, go underground. It'll be a news event where digital underground. Yeah. Shock G. Well, guys, a lot of the reason why I'm reporting things is because my ass got shocked and I got pretty pissed. And a lot of people nicknamed me G. They just call me the letter G. Long time they did. No, it wasn't like it was, I didn't really self-adopt it too much, but I would sign emails sometimes to people that was just G. Just to abbreviate. I mean, I there's no consistency to the way I answer emails. I'll sometimes say G, sometimes Gabriel, sometimes Gabe. I don't really care. I almost never use Justin unless it's super formal. And that's not even my name. It's technically Justine, strangely. It is actually. I'm not making that up. I just hardly ever point that out because it's just a big pain in the ass to explain it. Yeah, guys, but except these caves are multi-level, they're retrofitted Atlas night, and they're Atlas, Titan, Nike, Minuteman missile silos that are multi-level, have tunnel systems. Some are as big as miniature cities or villages. And they are retrofitting them. These are Cold War missile program silos and underground facilities that rich people are retrofitting and taking all the good resources from here and bringing them down there. And that's what we're really witnessing, folks, on a pretty large scale now. They are definitely going underground and creating a huge, storm up here for us to have to deal with because they want us distracted while they take it all underground. I mean, it's just what's going on. It's weird, guys, because even like that documentary, not the documentary, but the interview I did with Miles was trying to explain this even a few years ago. That interview's from 3 years ago. That's the last time I would talk to Miles. I mean, that was actually a decent interview, so I'm not trying to be crappy to him or anything like that. I gave him credit both in email and here publicly to say that I thought we had a good interview there. I would say to anybody, actually, if you want to see a quality interview between me and somebody else, that hour and a half that I did with Miles is, yeah, it's pretty relevant. It explains underground cave systems. It talks about the Merrill, the Merrill, Oregon connection to the Newell, California, Tule Lake segregation facility that housed Nazis, and how I had family members that were out there. So, I mean, my mother is from that area. I just don't understand how you can be from birth surrounded by 1,000 Nazis and have no stories about it. Riddle me that, Riddler. I mean, if you had a relative that basically was like in a whole thing, whatever. Oh, you want the interview? Like, I can get it to you here. Hang on. I think I actually already put it up. Oh no, that's the IMDb clip. Yeah, I'll get you the interview. Yeah, so I talked about this interview in detail. In the interview, he questions me. So I thought it was well done, guys. The only reason why I don't like to promote this material overall is because I have a strong disagreement with Miles over this term. And I don't want anybody going there right now, but I'm just telling you, like, one of the reasons why that term is associated with me at all, actually probably the only reason it is because of Miles. That's why I get pissed off at him. And I wanted to make sure that if we ever did something that I like, don't call me that. Don't refer to me as it, because if it weren't for you doing it to begin with, it never would have happened. You put that marker on me, bruh. I would have had no reason for anybody to be saying that, and I wouldn't have drawn in that crowd of people. And I just don't welcome it, guys, because it's a big trap for everything I've been discussing. It's designed to fool you and get you to give up and to self-program, not self-program, but to program your mind into negativity and perceive yourself as a victim and get you into the organ harvesting matrix where you just walk right into it. They want you in frustration. I mean, again, if you won't just die right away to become harvestable organs, they want you traumatized for plasma and making you angry and pissed all the time, and identifying as a victim as a way to get you there. Really. And so that's the only reason why I like that interview. I tend not to share it, but I'm going to get you the link here. Hang on. And there you are. All right. So that's the link for the interview with actually I should put it, I forgot here. I'm going to put it in this chat also because I forgot that I'm doing a simulcast on both channels right now, so I have to make sure I add it to a window that'll populate it to both. So hopefully it made it to the other one for those who, if you didn't see it and you're in the other channel, at some point, folks, I'm just going to let you know. I mean, it's all going to be on the Mirror channel. And so as many people as I can merge over, if you're currently tuned in right now on the main channel, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the Mirror channel also. And that's the one that if anything happens to this channel, you're going to have to go there going forward. And if you don't already have it subscribed to it now, it could happen, guys. They've been very aggressive about pegging my material over and over again for various strikes and violations. I'm only on my second day outside of suspension after my second suspension in a month, which cost me exponentially. I mean, it's bad. If you take me out of YouTube for 3 weeks in a month-long period, wow, that is like big time costly for me. Because I just don't have the same type of public outreach. I can't do these things as often with the same audience. You see, I have nearly 2,000 subscribers on this channel, the main one, but the other one I have just over 100 because I only created it after I got suspended the last time. I wasn't prepared. So you got to be really prepared for these things. And if you don't have the link in the chat, folks, it's in the description, just so you know. I put up there that I had a basis interview with Miles, and I put a link inside the description there in case you lose it in the chat. And then I was trying to think of what the other synchronicity was here, because there was a whole bunch of weird things. The movie itself had some anomalies. Well, maybe I can just show you guys without having to do a whole screenshot save. Hang on. This is the part that really freaked me out. The movie has all kinds of synchronicities, but to make it even weirder, I don't know if you see that, but the odometer that briefly cuts away, okay, it says 179 on the odometer above, and then below it says 729. Okay, so 729, 72 equals GB. So it's just my name without vowels. 72 miles equals Gib. The Nevada area code is 702. Then, again, so 72 GB, and then above it, 179. Okay, well, 79 is my birthday. I was born July 9. So then it says 179 on the odometer. All right, I spelled odometer wrong. And as I typed that, there's 17 subscribers on this feed that I noticed. So again, 179 is on the odometer. Weird. It's just some strange synchronicities that were like that in the movie on top of all the other weird things that are going on, right? So yeah, hang on, I can do that. Hang on. That's kind of the reason why I'm even doing them. I was going to merge everything over. That's right. My title card. That was the other Chevy Chase related thing I wanted to get into a little bit. All right. Okay, and then this is the mirror channel. And any folks, spread the word. If you can subscribe to that, I'd appreciate it. That'll help out. At least that way I have some outreach to the audience in case something happens again. I'm just going to try to avoid controversy on this channel for a little while is all. And then, you know, if I have something that I want to do that's a little bit more, you know, potentially whatever on the line, then I'll save it for the mirror channel because I can afford to have strikes over there. And this one is just, you know. And those looking for more validation, I can actually show you the article here. This is the article that I was talking about earlier. That's the guy that passed away. So again, you'll see it says Digital Underground's Shock G dead at 57. Visionary rapper producer co-produced Tupac while creating the indelible Humpty Dance as Humpty Hump. He was 57. So that was trippy to me. And then I noticed this. So he's Shock G and then Tupac Shakur, right? Shock G, Tupac Shakur. Okay. So he produced his album, and then Tupac died in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996. So that's when the shooting occurred. But according to the records, he actually died from the shots officially September 13th. This is where this gets even weirder for me. Because if you go out to Newell, California, that's where the Nazis all basically were. Hang on here. See, again, guys, I don't know how these synchronicities are occurring. If it's natural, then I think there's a way that it could be occurring through a sort of like natural, unnatural energy line process that I'm going to try to talk a little bit more about here in a second. This is the area where the Nazis came in California, and like everybody talks about Fort Bliss and nobody talks about this, but here's exactly where it happened. But look at this, guys. Look, do you notice something here? That's the entrance. That's the entrance to the segregation camp where they held the Nazis. Notice that the highway to get in is 139. 139 913 139 913. So again, September 13th can also be represented as 13-9 if you're from Europe, which the Nazis that came into that camp were from Europe. So if they were going to be doing something that was ritualistic in nature, relevant to this, then yeah, that would be the way they would go about doing it. It's hard to see on the screen here because you can't really zoom in on it, but that's the camp right there. And then this highway leading in is 139. And I've actually done a news story from there on this road. My news article that I did literally is right here. I don't know what just happened to the perspective. It just like completely threw everything off. Okay, there it is. Yeah, that's the entrance I was at right there. Strangely, the 3D is not working anymore. I don't know what's going on. Okay. But see, that's the town that the Nazis are from, guys. You ever wonder why I'm always trying to make it a point to point out things that sort of like Newell, New Line, Newell, New Line, Newell. Think about it. The Nazis came in to Newell. What is Newell backwards? Llewellyn. Newell, Llewellyn. Almost say Leon. Lewen. Leon. 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 Yeah, guys. Think this through. Now, once you get from Newell, you get new energy lines. How do you create influence? How do you create energy? How do you create energy and influence through the collective consciousness and by putting things into the collective consciousness? Ask the people that created New Line Cinemas that are behind a whole bunch of the Nazi films. Seriously, a bunch of the people that you can find connected to this, whether they understand it or not, guys. Quite a number of great films and wonderful, very talented filmmakers do a lot of their projects at New Line Cinemas. And I don't consider them bad people or on the dark side or anything. So let me make sure I'm clear on that. I don't sit there damning everybody just because they have a film at a studio or whatever, or even think that a lot of times that they're even conscious of what they're doing, because that's how the Nazis have always worked. They get people to do things thinking like, wow, I'm doing something great. And you're not. You're actually harming. They're getting you to do something that you feel personally vested in, that makes you feel important, that you oftentimes have no idea is offensive or horrible or causing another person problems. And they get you to think that it's completely cool and great. You know, it's bizarre. Oh, you have it gets weirder. Okay, I'm just gonna let you know it gets way, way weirder when I start showing you some of the other things involving these photos. But all right, so that's New Well, New Line. I did an article in Fontana, okay, about the underground in Fontana, relevant to New Line cinemas and how they use the film Nightmare on Elm Street 2, for example. And I can show you this article. Actually, it might help to do that. In While I was in Fontana doing that series of articles, I reported from, actually, let me just get it on the map here. All right. So notice here on this map that that's San Bernardino Avenue, Randall Avenue, and then if you get closer to where that racetrack is, that's Merrill Avenue. So that town I just showed you where the Nazis came in, okay, that's Newell, but just to the north of it is Merrill. Same spelling, Merrill. Okay, because that's where all of these Nazis and Oddfellows and Rebecca's all come from. And they're all connected to these families out here. So Merrill Avenue connects to Fontana Avenue in a great big Z. Interesting that it forms the letter Z, you know, and that you have Merrill that goes like this, and then it forms the triangle, just like you find out there in Fontana and Merrill. They got a whole series of these things they do just like this. They love creating these angled streets, even in the middle of nowhere where it's not necessary. And then the Z's completed down here. So it goes Merrill, and then it crosses down here, and then it goes San Bernardino. So again, guys, the shooting in San Bernardino, I got family in Merrill, Oregon. You got the Fontana kill line. And then over to the left here is what? What you're looking at here is the, sorry, let me get that out of there. That is the Kaiser Steel, which is now called California Steel. And they filmed RoboCop. They filmed The Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. They filmed Terminator 2 there, Mortal Kombat. Some other iconic scenes were done at this. Oh, Hell Comes to Frogtown. Okay. Hell Comes to Frogtown. That's another one that's huge. So, I did a series of reports out here because this is where it all kind of is happening, guys. And this is where the underground tunnel system originates. Underneath this steel factory, this is a NASCAR track. You understand what they're doing with all this out here? If you understand energetics, you guys understand energetics and harvesting human energy. This is like one of the main places where they learn the most about how to do this. Okay. So what you have over here really is right off this exit, and it's no coincidence it's off of Cherry Avenue because they use that as part of their operations, guys. Everything they do is Cherry. They reference this duck shape right here, this dragon duck shape. The Cherry Avenue exit is relevant to the Zodiac killer. And then the Zodiac did their crime in San Francisco that binds to this area at Washington and Cherry. So you notice that Cherry Avenue is here. You notice that Washington Drive is here, and this is Redwood Avenue. All meet in this spot right here. Now, why is that? Did you know that if you go to San Francisco and draw a 131.3 that crosses from 2 homicides of the Zodiac killer right across this area? It originates at Washington and Cherry in San Francisco. It crosses over Washington and Cherry right here in Fontana. And then it proceeds to go on to San Bernardino, where the murder of Cherry Joe Bates occurred. You understand how they use that in triplicates: Cherry Avenue, Cherry Street, Cherry Joe Bates. All right. Washington Ave, Washington Street. George Washington did what? There's a story about how George Washington cut down the cherry tree, but it was a lie. So everything these people do is predicated on deception, lies. The whole lore behind the cherry Washington, chopping down the cherry tree, all of that. It's part of the lore. How do they achieve their power structure? How do they get people to hate one another? What is their core market economies? It's all integrated into this. If you understand what's really going on there with the blood economy, the plasma economy, and the underground tunneling. Because right here, where the Z starts to form, if you zoom out a little bit, sorry, my map just got out of control. Right here is where the tunnel is. So there's Kaiser Steel, there's the racetrack, there's Merrill Ave, San Bernardino, and there's Fontana. And this angled street, what it's really doing is it's aiming an arrow. Change your perspective. Now look at what you're starting to see here. Wow, look at that. It's an arrow. Because now I'm pointed 44.66 degrees, and I'm going to show you. They were just making it to here, then they built it out, then what do you see again? Arrow. I did a report from right here. And if you guys are curious, I can show you that. I just don't want to do a big thing on the Zodiac tonight. So you see the trajectory, so all you have to do is just keep going. Now, it passes Route 66. It's aimed 44.66 degrees. Not a coincidence. So anyways, if you follow this line in Fontana Avenue, it's going to wind up, just keep going, 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 44.66 degrees. You can keep following it. It's going to go through all this desert. It crosses in through Highway 15 out to Las Vegas. And then once you get to the border, you'll love this energy line that's in Fontana. Why is it energy line? I'm going to show you. It passes underneath all this. Where is it deriving its energy from? What is it feeding energy into? Prim. And this is the energy system that's alleging to be a simple solar array. I do not think it's only solar. I think it's doing something well beyond just solar collection. It's doing something with energy. Beyond just harvesting sun. That's all I'm telling you guys. This thing is way, way, way more than just solar power. Kind of looks like it's in another planet, doesn't it? That's on the state line. Those of you who travel from California to Las Vegas, if you look off to your left, you'll see it. Shining, those big pillars that shine, those like really shiny things. You go like, whoa, whoa, what the hell is that? Stop. And there's like 3 of those huge towers out there. That's one of them. That's what it looks like when you're staring down on it from the top down. And the energy line that you see at Fontana Avenue, if you just keep aiming that arrow, it goes underneath this. Weird, right? That arrow goes right underneath that. It doesn't just go there, though, guys. It goes over to a neighborhood where I actually spent time in. So the line keeps going through here. And check this out, guys. This is where it gets real. This is how you know it's an actual thing. Once you get to the Sloan area, the line basically goes through here. And the trajectory of the line matches this street. It goes at the same angle. And look at this. Look at the name of it. St. Rose Parkway. Well, if you know about the Rosie connection to Fontana, then this St. Rose Parkway being named St. Rose Parkway when the line originates from Fontana. You know, if you know about how Roseanne named her family the Connors, why would she name her family the Connors? Why did you choose the name Connors, Rosie? I'm helping. What does the con 2.0 look like when you're trying to basically screw over the other side? I'm helping. Hi, conservatives. Here's another fake character to con you with. I'm fighting MK Ultra. I'm helping. Thanks, Rosie. Appreciate that. I think you set back any of those movements exponentially years, which probably was the intention of what your current work is and what it was before. Oh yeah, you could see those three shiny things from any, I mean, you can see them from a long ways away. But just to put it in context, guys, it does go out to here. And I've done research, and I'm not going to go into any more detail except to tell you that when I got at this level into this section of Henderson, which also has a connection to the Manzanar facility that I've studied relevant to Karate Kid, as weird as that sounds, it points right to this area here, and the energy line goes underneath here. And this is where I measured the 972 megahertz signal that I think could potentially be a particle accelerator, because that's what that signal's associated with. So, now, I mean, guys, I'm not just saying this to be shocking. I'm going to show you the chart. The thing's called a J Park. Sorry, it's taking its time opening here. There it is. Okay. So what I just showed you on that map, that whole energy line that goes from Fontana to Henderson, this is it. It's measured. I measured it. Not with the equipment I have now. And chances are nobody wants me to come anywhere near there with the equipment I have now, because I'll really be able to prove something. Which might explain why I'm not welcome certain places anymore, is because now I have the equipment to measure what's going on. That would be my guess. Just saying. Just saying. That's where I found that energy system for those who are intrepid investigators. Maybe that's why I'm not welcome certain places anymore, is because I don't let things happen to people. I'll actually prove it's happening to them, and I'll show the evidence to say it's happening to them. Unfortunately, in my universe, we don't have any control over our movement, and we're in America. It's kind of trippy, isn't it? We have the illusion of freedom, but these people that are connected to this system can terrorize you with this signal. What this signal does is it vibrates your body completely out of resonance. This is total top-down control. It's very painful. It makes all your muscles ache top-down, makes the body electricity just go. And in your skull will feel like it's separating. It's like it's doing this. You can feel, this is what your face feels like it's happening to all day. It's like someone's taking the left hemisphere of your brain and stretching it to the right, taking the right hemisphere of your brain and stretching it to the left. I've measured it. So is Gabe the bad guy in the family, you think? Or do you think maybe I'm the only person that seems to be advocating for people that are victims of the malevolent persons in the family? And maybe the rest of those of you who know what the family is may want to take a deeper look into what happened to some of your great uncles. Maybe you take a deeper look into what happened to my grandmother, a woman who gets throat cancer and never smoked a cigarette in her freaking life. Or a man that gets aggressive bone cancer that completely takes over him top down, who's sitting on top of said tunnel. Maybe you wanted the tunnel. Maybe you wanted it from Sarah. Maybe you wanted it from Moises. Maybe you wanted it from, who else might have a chunk of this tunnel that you want? Check on their health, everybody. That's all I'm saying. They're probably not long in this world. But I guess you're going to blame me, huh? The one who does have no connections to the nuclear industry at all. The one who never worked at one or could access nuclear materials, you're going to go what? While the one that you go, we love him, isn't he cool? Has a tattoo of a skull and crossbones and a nuclear radiation hazard symbol on his legs. By the way, what did Moises die of? Aggressive bone cancer to where? His fucking legs, guys. Family, wake up. Because those of you who act like Gabe's the problem when you know what I just told you means, you better start showing me some support, because you're going to look like a bunch of assholes. Did you get it yet? I'm not the problem. Wake up. If you want this bloodline to even frickin' survive, the ones who had nothing to do with what you did, you better release us from your bullshit. I know you don't want that, though. I didn't ask to be a part of it. Was never brought in. Yet, I'm bound to it for some strange reason. Even though I say I don't consent, I don't want these people anywhere near me. My whole existence is this Hollywood thing with all these freaking signals and uranium and all this other crap. While they can act like I don't exist on the sidelines, and these goons keep coming back into my universe that is being sent by who you think? Powerful people that have no clue how to find a child trafficker in the family, a pedophile at a minimum, who openly confessed to what he did. He told us gleefully. Bragged. I was 10 years old when he said it to me. Did not make that up. Is that what you guys say? He makes things up. From the group of people that make everything up. Our entire reality for us, manufactured by who? So no, I'm not going to be your reputational gatekeepers. I'm just, guys, this is a real system. I mean, I don't know what else to say to people. Like, it's just, to me, how are they getting away with this? I don't know, guys. It's just because, I don't know, man, we're kind of by the sidelines, I guess. You know, we're still being passive observers. We're letting things happen still. I think what I need to do is talk about symbolic communication a little bit more, because everything I'm talking about is about energy lines and symbolic communication, right? How does an energy line get created? This mob that I'm explaining to you guys has an underground tunnel that's literally, just think of it like a big tube. And in that tube passes frequency. And the frequency that passes in that tube looks like this when you stare at it in a spectrum analysis chart. See those red lines that get all spiky and big there? Right here? And so I find that signal with all those spikes there at neg 28 dBm close to where a loved one of mine rests their head and has for many years. See, this is the kind of sick, wicked things that happen to me. I know that that's happening. I can prove it's happening. And I can go to the FBI and say, I have signals that show these things are happening. And then everybody kind of goes, mm-hmm. And then what they try to do is say, well, because you tried to help a person, we're going to punish the person you tried to help, and we're going to teach the world a lesson by showing them publicly what we do to people like you who rat out the FBI. Hence why we need the military involved. Hence why martial law will almost for certain be necessary. It's being straight up, guys. I located this. Now I have better devices now that I can measure subtle energies with. And you know what happened? Now I'm no longer welcome at the location where I took that measurement. Won't even answer the phone. Why do you think that might be? Good reasons? So, really, guys, I don't want to get a lot of personal business, but I'm just going to ask you, knowing those who made that decision, knowing the background you come from, do you honestly think anyone's going to believe that you would ask somebody close to you to disassociate from somebody that they've been close to since they were little kids and stood by each other? You would act like what I did was so inconsiderate that it justifies creating that kind of a rift? I think you know that that's shady. And I think you know that it looks as fake and as put upon as it is. So I'm calling it out now. I've been very nice up until now, but I am calling that out. It's not cool. And it's not lost upon me why certain floor tiles make hollow noises and other ones sound like they're kind of full. Maybe what's underneath? What do you think? Kill them with kindness. That's what they say, guys. Kill them with kindness. Hey guys, it's cool, and I'm glad that I'm one of them. I'm just letting you know that, yeah, you get helped on certain levels from the sidelines, but at official levels, these people that are at that, the reason why our country is as effed as it is right now, guys, is because I've had to prove this. Not because of that, but I'm saying there was almost no clear-cut cases, I think, prior to me. I don't mind saying this. The way that I approached the FBI gave them no ability to continue faking things. So they're pissed. I gave nobody an option to keep going, that doesn't happen. He doesn't exist. So they're going to have to come up with something else. I don't want it to be that way. I don't think all those people there are bad even, guys. I think a lot of them really are having the wool pulled over their eyes by a bunch of these mafias that have such tight connections to the Hollywood studios, guys. Guy, I want you to think about it. The most powerful cartel could do it all with special effects. Here's how they would do it. You just go into a town as one big collective of actors. Your Hollywood production teams that normally make B films that are about what? Biker gangs that go into towns and take them over. Cartels and gangs that take over an apartment complex like Death Wish and Charles Bronson. These are the movies these people make when they're not committing crimes. How do they commit their crimes? They do it by becoming it as a fiction that becomes reality. Then we all adopt the fiction as the reality. It's all staged, set up. I set them up, you knock them down. They come up with a Hollywood script. The agents come in. Gotcha. Bad criminal. I'm putting handcuffs on you. All right, guys, let's go have some shots downstairs and party. Script's over. Movie's wrapped up. Close the script on El Chapo. Close the script on the founder of the La Luz del Mundo church caught with child pornography. Yeah, retire. Yeah, no. The real guy who did it, he can go back to keep doing it. Yeah, we put out the fake character with his name and everything. So no one's going to know about the real guy. They're all going to keep talking about the fake story. It's two cases, guys. The real coke dealer, no, he's still out there. And the real La Luz del Mundo guy, whose name is Joaquin Garcia. Weird that they all happen kind of back to back. La Luz del Mundo founder, and they both had the same name. And they're both buffer characters. And then when you see how the other buffer characters work, it's not hard to figure out where it's leading back to. That's all. But yeah, I'm not. It sucks, you guys. I mean, like, none of these people they didn't get any of the right. Everything has happened to this next generation. I mean, there's been nobody advocating for them. That's the problem. And all the people that are leading them at this point are going to lead them into this little Hollywood, make things up as, and construct reality thing. And I'm seeing some of them out there, guys. I have people approaching me with characters going like, have you heard of this person? I go, no, but that looks like they're my cousin's kid. Now they're your favorite, used to be whatever character turned conservative that you all post things on YouTube and Twitter and everything like that. And I'm still ignored for the most part. These characters come out of nowhere and I'm just like, wow. And I can tell that they're relatives in some cases, or like a cousin I don't know or never met, or they're leading some organization. And I'm like, why does that person look like you could line them up in a family reunion, but I've never met them? Just figure it out, folks. This is what I'm trying to reveal to you. There's some larger pool of genetics that are all led back to this group, and they're hiding them from the rest of us. And those people are out there doing some pretty wicked. And some of the family knows who they are and do know what they are doing and are partnered with them. That's why I'm pissed, because the rest of them are all going like, but that's the nice one, Gabe. You're the problem child. I'm like, no, I'm not. I could not have possibly had this kind of influence to do this. Any of these things. I didn't have the connections or the influence or anything like that to achieve any of those types of things. So anytime I've mentioned like the whole thing about, whatever, it just, gets completely whitewashed. James did this. Well, statutes of limitations. Oh, well, there's nothing we could do about it. Yeah, there was plenty you could do about James J. Pettigrew being a pedophile, instead of sending your fucking goons and your actors and your crisis actors to come over and harass me constantly, instead of actually doing your job at the fucking FBI. Instead, you just let child molesters just do whatever they want to and keep doing being what they are over and over again. It's ridiculous to me, dude. Why? 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 It's really trippy right now, guys, because as I'm doing this live presentation with you, they're having strangers start an argument in the hallway right outside my hotel room while I'm on a live stream, just to create more whatever. I'll let others figure out how that's all happening and going down, but whatever. Trippy, right? Nothing like that has really happened at all since I've been here. I haven't really had hardly any incidences, but of course, now that I'm on the live stream, I'm actually talking about something relevant. Hey, let's create an interruption. Let's make sure nobody hears the reality. Let's make sure that nobody knows the truth. Let's create an intercept, a jam. There's like no reason to hang out here and yell. All right. Didn't mean to go completely negative, guys. But here's the thing. There's an energy line that exists. It seems to involve uranium processes, that whatever they do to make that energy happen is a uranium-based process that also involves frequencies in the megahertz range that can vibrate things. I've measured it. It's affected people that I know. I've existed in that system before. I've measured it while I was in it. It does not feel good. It is brutal and aggressive, and it can change your behavior. I, at the time, had things that could fight it. I literally had devices that could push the energy off that were protecting me when I was exposed to the system. And had I not had that, I may have been subjected to the same symptoms from it. Changes in behavior that are pretty weird. Guys, it's like some exorcist things, man. You will see people act so strange with this energy. And it can vibrate a person's body like you would not believe. You just feel like you got your own private earthquake inside your body, rumbling you. Consistent with Parkinson's. Strange, because I had another very nice uncle who had very good intentions, who also passed away in this family, of a process that seems to involve uranium being delivered to them to create the symptoms of Parkinson's, because that's what it does. It is a uranium process that creates Parkinson's. It is a uranium weapon process that creates Park-kin son. Park, arc, rec, kin, son. He was a good man. I just don't feel that connected to some of these people, guys. And I started asking myself, was Chevy Chase in that music video? Sorry to jump around here, guys. I did a whole thing called Symbolic Communication and You Can Call Me Al, because I came aware not that long ago that my family has some strange connections to Hollywood, and that at least one of them was an actress that appeared in a Stanley Kubrick film. Then, once I understood that we had lived next to an overlook or on an overlook drive multiple times during my childhood, including one address actually on, it was 2740, if I remember correctly, when I was a kid, 2740 Overlook Drive, Broomfield, Colorado. That was the exact address. And that when I was there, that's when I really became kind of like this whole thing with Kubrick. I'd been a fan of Kubrick since I was younger, but there was something that was really strange about that location we lived on. It was on Mile High Hill in Broomfield. It was on top of a hill at a mile up in Colorado. And the fact that it was on Overlook, and that references the Overlook Hotel where Jack Nicholson has his whole short circuit inside the book The Shining, as well as the movie The Shining. And then if my information is correct, the relative of mine that's connected to Kubrick, she played Spartacus's wife in the film Spartacus, which isn't a really pure Kubrick film. He was more of a hired on director. So I don't consider that necessarily Kubrick in the classic sense. It's more of a studio Kubrick movie, you know. But she was in it. And so I think that's where the family had a link in with Kubrick going way back, was through that Jean Marilyn Simmons link that no one will admit exists or happened. but they'll do that shifty, looking at me thing. So I don't know, guys. To me, when somebody's doing the right thing, they don't have that kind of shifty looking down thing going on. And I get that a lot from the people that I question on these topics. So, yeah, I get it. All right. So I'm going to play something really quick here. I might go a little bit longer tonight. I'm not sure. I might do 3 hours. Because I want to get through the symbolism thing relative to energy lines and symbolic communication. So why am I going to play this article? It's to kind of give you guys a full circle thing on the whole 57 Chevy as a model of a car. Chevy Chase not being really his name. It's a nickname. He's Cornelius Crane Chase. Chevy Chase is his nickname. He's Crane because he's actually strangely connected to Crane Plumbing Accessories. Strangely, guys, guess what I have here in my hotel room? I have Crane. Same Crane, if I understand correctly, is connected to Chevy Chase. Weird. Right, so there's that link. There's a song by TV on the Radio that I sang last year called Killer Crane. That's a very relevant song in my life for a lot of reasons. TV on the Radio. And I had no idea about him or anything involving Chevy Chase leading up until this point. So this was kind of anchored to me because back when I was in Fontana, when I was a younger kid, I remember I had an uncle that was really into the album Graceland, and it just seemed like he was playing it in repetition, almost like he really wanted me to remember it, like he wanted to be anchored, like, you need to remember this, dude. And I'm saying this as a peace offering to him, even if he's offended by my material, that I think he did that for a good reason. I don't think that was done for malevolent purposes. So, and I've always had good times with him and his family, and I don't want any of those people to think that I'm ostracizing everybody. I just want to know who's doing what. And I think I deserve answers on these things because there's too many people in my family that I know had good and pure hearts that were discarded or hurt or harmed. And that there's some other ones sometimes that maybe were a little bit more bitter or a little bit more whatever, cruel-minded at times, or had a little bit more wicked sense of humor, and they thrived. And I'm not saying one deserved it, another one didn't. I'm just wondering why the sweet-natured ones that just seem to be more like, really just like, oh, I love my family, and they're more quiet, and it's not right. And then this video seemed to be communicating that just like red rum in The Shining, I started going, why did the director pick that video? Or why did he pick a red drum? Why did he pick a pink room? Why a blue shirt? I really started to ask about the symbolic cues in this video on a deeper level. And then it occurred to me that they're doing what a lot of this group does as a race, symbolically communicate, sometimes intentionally, sometimes without intention. Then I really started to review the work of Chevy Chase and said, whoa, a lot of his movies do this. Exactly the method you're finding in this music video. The color coding, the use of the numbers. And again, guys, a lot of people have theories that this is always done because Illuminati or Freemasons, etc. Well, yes and no. Freemasons definitely do this. But is it always bad? Is it always good? No, it's neither. It's not always bad. It's not always good. Some advocate for Nazis, and some have zero connection to Nazis. I would argue that a Freemason that advocates for Nazis is not a true Freemason, because Freemasons and Nazis are enemies. Just like the Jews and Freemasons, or rather the Jews and Nazis would be natural enemies, the same would hold true for Freemasons. They tried to exterminate them. They did. So if you find ones that are doing Nazi things, they were infiltrated and they've become Nazi organizations that pretend to be Freemasons, and they do it with everybody. So what I think is going on here is this was a little bit like, I don't know what Chevy Chase is to me, okay? But it felt almost like a dad or an uncle or just a friend kind of saying, do you know what's around you? Are you okay over there? We may need you sometime to talk. It just felt that way. Doesn't mean it's true. It felt like they were speaking something on a deeper level is all. And I always liked Paul Simon, and I always liked this song, and I love the album Graceland, and I really love the one that came out after it, Rhythm of the Saints. One of my favorite songs on there is called The Obvious Child. And that's one of the lines in it, you know, crosses in the ballpark. Why deny the obvious child? There's a lot of lines in that. Had a lot of fun, had a lot of money. Had a little son and thought I'd call him Sonny. Sonny gets married and moves away. Sonny has a baby and bills to pay. Sonny gets sunnier day by day and day by day. Ba, 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 ba. I love Obvious Child. It's one of my favorite songs. I can't sing it that well, though, compared to other ones. But I'm going to go a little bit longer than usual tonight, guys. Not really long, but maybe another half hour. I'm going to play this article because I need to contextualize everything I've said. And then I'm going to wrap it up. Because this all leads into this 57 thing, 57 Chevy. How the 57 Heinz thing, I think I know what that's about. Some of it. But a lot of these things link together. It's almost like a big puzzle. And that a lot of the films of Chevy Chase, I would say Foul Play, his early work. A lot of people haven't even heard of that one. It has Goldie Hawn in it. His 2 films with Goldie Hawn, very relevant. Seems Like Old Times, Foul Play, the Vacation films, the first 2 especially, European Vacation and Regular Vacation. And then he has a whole series of obscure films that almost nobody saw that he did early in his career. Under the Rainbow. What is that about? Hollywood, the Nazis, and the Japanese partnering with the Nazis and infiltrating a Wizard of Oz production. I am not joking, guys. There is a movie called Under the Rainbow with Chevy Chase and Carrie Fisher. If you've never seen it, you should. And it is all about literally the filming of Wizard of Oz and a whole plot line of Nazis partnering with the Japanese during that filming to like pass a map, and that they go there looking for a Nazi played by Billy Barty. He goes there looking for a Japanese, you know, whatever. But there's like all these different people staying at the hotel, and he crosses a regular Japanese guy with the Nazi Japanese guy that he's supposed to be meeting there and rendezvousing for the map. And it turns into this huge plot line where Chevy Chase has to protect these people and takes over an entire floor of a hotel. And like almost nobody's seen it or talks about it, but that movie exists. And Carrie Fisher was in it too. Deal of the Century. That one was directed by John Friedkin again, William Friedkin, excuse me. William Friedkin directed that one, and he did The Exorcist, one of the Exorcist films, the first one, I believe. Quality director. But again, that's a movie that's all about the bloated defense industry. And Chevy Chase plays a guy that sells guns and weapons to different countries around the world for defense companies that are American. And the one that he's pursuing the strongest is named San Miguel. Okay. A lot of my research leads to San Miguel de Allende. So I was going, did he do that for no reason? Because that's not the only time he's been in a movie with San Miguel. In Fletch, he breaks into a kitchen and the box that he holds says San Miguel when he breaks in. There's this constant theme of Chevy Chase repeating the same terms, repeating this thing where the number 72 is in there over and over again. He didn't just do it in that movie, Nothing But Trouble. If you look in Fletch, there's a scene where he looks at his watch and goes, na 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 na, and you look down on it and the year 1972 is on it, which of course was my own private na 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 na. Spies Like Us. Yes, Spies Like Us. All right, so I'm going to play this really quick, and I'll because this is all about symbolic communication. So keep this in mind, guys. What I'm telling you is that they'll tell you every time that when it's symbolic communication, a lot of these like media personalities, especially alt media ones, that like, you know, that's obvious Freemasonic symbolism. That's obviously them doing Illuminati. Well, here's all I'm saying, guys, is yeah, those groups that are doing negative things do repurpose the secret handshakes, but they don't own them. A lot of people own the secret handshakes, okay? And they do them for various reasons. And what I think is going on here, was this was a tip. It was a clue. The whole video is symbolic if you pay attention to it, and this is my decrypt of it. It doesn't take that long. I think it's under 10 minutes, so I'll be back. I'll be back. Hey everybody, I was just thinking about symbol decryption and how to interpret like the use of symbols, like why directors make color choices in music videos, why they make selections for certain, creatively, I guess, in certain circumstances. So particularly I wanted to highlight Paul Simon's You Can Call Me Al, directed by Gary Weiss. This is the song I've had in my head for a while now. It's a song that came out in the 80s, and it charted at number 44. And it's 4 minutes and 40 seconds, which I thought was really weird because I've been getting into this song right now, and I'm 44 years old at the time of this production here. So, kind of. Also, keep in mind the kill line in Fontana is 44 degrees, which I think was the other reason why that was done. 4 minutes 40 seconds, top number 44, a constant 4444. And then when I did this article, I was 44 years old. Weird. Weird, but anyways, I thought I'd mention that just because I was thinking about like what might be getting communicated in this video, what are the possibilities and things like that. And I thought this one was in particular kind of interesting because since I was a kid, people told me that I looked a little bit like Chevy Chase. So I thought I would just kind of put that out there, like a comparison and everything like that to kind of show you like why. People tell me even today I do, but I don't know. I don't entirely see it, but in a way I kind of do. So that's just for your own, review if you feel like there's a similarity. But the point is that I noticed that he was using things like color coding of like light pink and light blue and dark blue, and that light pink and light blue are like maternity colors, And then I kind of noticed that the room itself was like the color of maternity pink, and that he was wearing a light blue shirt, which is a color of maternity. And that Chevy Chase was wearing a dark blue shirt, which I thought was interesting because I thought that might be sort of a sign for something. So if you kind of follow through this video and everything like that, you kind of see like in the beginning, they kind of both go into the room, right? And they're kind of trying to squeeze in at the same time. And so they both go in to sit at their chairs and everything, with Paul Simon sitting next to the saxophone, Chevy Chase sitting next to the other instrument, the trumpet, and that they give each other kind of the secret handshake, okay? And so you'll notice that Paul Simon kind of sits solemnly to the left, and he's not really doing much. Chevy Chase is doing all the lip syncing while Paul Simon just kind of watches him, right? So it's kind of an interesting choice. And then Paul Simon kind of gets up about, 10, 20 seconds into the song and goes back into the room that they both came in through. And Chevy Chase keeps lip syncing and everything. He kind of forms a triangle with his hand. You see in the background that Paul Simon walks past with a red drum. I thought that was kind of interesting because there's a red drum in the movie The Shining. And I was thinking to myself, well, that's kind of weird because, I actually, number one, I'm a huge Stanley Kubrick fan. And also, I used to live when I was in Colorado on Overlook Drive. And then the movie The Shining, if you remember, takes place at the Overlook Hotel. And I thought, that's kind of a strange coincidence too, right? Because it's just almost like there's these weird kind of connections here. So, and he keeps, and then if you notice, Paul Simon comes back into the room and he's kind of twiddling his fingers, looking a little bit concerned while Chevy Chase keeps lip syncing to the song. And I thought it was an interesting choice that there's such a huge arrangement of brass instruments in this, but they only have the saxophone and the trumpet there. Well, I thought that might be a sign for trying to highlight the fact that there's maternity and paternity colors. So the saxophone might just be like a coded way to say sex is saxophone, or, like they try to communicate to you that they're discussing genders here for some strange reason. And here's why I think that why that might be happening. You'll notice here as Chevy keeps lip syncing to the song and everything like that and waiting for Paul Simon to come back into the room, that he's sitting next to a trumpet. Well, I'm not trying to assign any specific meaning to me, except that my name, Gabriel, is the sign of an archangel. Archangels are messengers. They deliver information. They deliver things that the people should know. So I thought it was interesting that he's sitting next to a trumpet in particular, and that had to me, it resonates with me personally, okay? Just as studying symbolism and archangels and things like that. But you notice that Paul Simon comes back in the room, and now he has a penny whistle inside his pocket, okay? And he's kind of twiddling his thumbs, and he's not saying anything, and he looks over at Chevy Chase while he's singing, okay?
Now, watch as he's singing the chorus here, Paul Simon goes and starts to play the penny whistle. I looked this up specifically on the credits, and they list the instrument as a penny whistle. As he's playing the penny whistle, Chevy Chase lifts up the glass of water, takes a sip, and then notice this, he starts to set it down on the tray, but there is nothing to set it into. The water breaks. Okay, I thought that was an interesting choice, is that the water breaks, and then Paul Simon proceeds to play the penny whistle. Okay, next to the saxophone. Then Chevy Chase starts to cross his legs and cross his hands. Paul Simon tosses the penny whistle to him, and they both start to play the trumpets and the saxophone. Okay, so they do the synchronized dance together like this for a while, playing the saxophone and the trumpet. Now, the reason why I wanted to highlight this a little bit is because there's more symbolism going on here with Gabriel's horn being part of the archangel system. Part of that is that if you look up Gabriel on Wikipedia, some of the lore behind Gabriel as an archangel is that he also carries a horn or a trumpet specifically. It's also a mathematic and an audio type concept involving a pattern in math called Gabriel's horn. And you can look that up too, and I put a slide for it here also. So a lot of things that I discuss involve radio frequency, sound, specific concepts involving math and esoteric symbolism and esoteric communication. So this video in particular just resonated with me. So I think sometimes our geometry just sort of happens, regardless of whatever. But it's also interesting that we kind of have a similar appearance. So I kind of wondered if we're cousins or something like that. Because sometimes that's why at a DNA level, you may just be resonating with somebody, like for whatever reason that they're doing things that are totally benign. They resonate with you. Then you'll notice that Chevy Chase drops the penny whistle the same place that he dropped the glass of water where it broke. Okay. Now, Paul Simon starts to bring in the red drum, okay, from the back of the room. All right. So into this pink room, the maternity color the maternity color is pink. He brings a red drum. Now, I wanted to highlight this because the movie The Shining involves symbolic and telepathic communication. There's scenes where the boy in the movie, Danny, is told by the owner, or rather the proprietor of the shop, that there's this thing called shining that's a little bit like clairvoyance, where people just sort of pass communication without discussing things. They do it other ways. So I think that there's something that's kind of being communicated here with the red drum specifically, because they really only have a handful of instruments, even though there's a broad section of instruments used in the album. And so you notice that after Paul Simon brings in the red drum, he's kind of sitting there solemnly, and he's kind of looking at his hands a little bit. He's not singing, but Chevy Chase is just singing along just fine, And I thought that was really interesting. While I was watching this too, there's a couple movies that I've been watching lately because I've been kind of catching up on Chevy Chase films, which is why I thought of this to do this article. And so you notice that Paul Simon starts playing the drums again, and Chevy Chase is doing this little thing with his arms back and forth, And then Paul Simon's about to proceed to go into the bass guitar loop on this. Now, what I read on the Wikipedia entry was that they used backmasking to make this bass sound. So he played it forward, then they looped it in reverse. So it's a form of backmasking. So it's almost like they're telling you you're supposed to interpret some of this backwards. You see, the bass guitar was played forward, then backwards. So they're acknowledging backmasking because I believe that the red drum could potentially be a reference to clairvoyance, telepathic, symbolic communication, as well as The Shining specifically. They may actually be talking about it like, hey, you're supposed to do some of these things backwards, red drum, because in the movie, that was the inside scoop there, was that the red drum was Danny's way of communicating outbound that somebody had committed a murder near him. So he starts going, red drum, because that's the only way he can process it. And then I thought it's interesting because not only did they do that, but they leave the room backwards, you see. So after playing all those instruments, they actually leave the room walking backwards, playing the instruments. He's playing Gabriel's horn. They have the penny whistle. They have the red drum. It's just interesting to me because I just noticed that people that are certain, blood groups and come from certain areas and things like that, they tend to sort of organically, symbolically communicate. And it's just something that resonates with me. And this one in particular, I don't know, it's a song that I've always liked. And I just remember, like, when I was a kid, just hearing about, like, 57 Chevy Bel Airs a lot, even though we never had one. And that was, like, a really popular thing. So that kind of stuck out in my head, like, 57 Chevy, 57 Chevy. Well, and it's trippy because I realized that I did an interview on a media outlet called Phases Project where I was number 57 on that. And so it just kind of stuck in my head that somebody used to always say 57 Chevy. I kind of look like Chevy Chase. People have told me I look like Chevy Chase my whole life, off and on. And that I have some mannerisms that are similar in things too. So I don't know. Maybe we're cousins or something. I don't know, but I'll put it here to take a look at it again or whatever. But yeah, you never know what could happen, right? As far as that goes. But anyways, I thought it was worth mentioning because it's a cool video. I'll leave a link to it for you to check it out yourself. And anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.
All right. Actually, this is something kind of interesting on this.
It's worth mentioning because it's a cool. Bye.
Don't know why that's in there. It just is. All right. So beyond that, let's talk more about the symbolism that I've been finding relative to. I hope this isn't boring, guys, but this is why I'm telling you, this got weirder and weirder as time went on. The purple hat, the purple sombrero, and the green sombrero. Somebody just said, where's Chevy these days? Well, one of the last things that he did was he was on Community with a bunch of other actors, like an NBC television series, and then it wound up, I think, on the web at some point. But it was actually a pretty funny series. I didn't watch it when it was on television initially. I don't know why. I'd heard that it was pretty funny and things like that, but I think I was just kind of over sitcoms for the most part, and I stopped watching television mostly as far as TV shows go by that point when it was on. And it wasn't until I had like about a year where I was kind of stuck someplace. I couldn't earn income and I couldn't do new content. That's when I was at my parents' house, and my income situation was bad. My relationship with them was bad. And I basically had to choose between homelessness or continuing with my channel. And, well, you can see that I didn't have to pick either in either case, but it was basically, yeah, I had to leave there if I wanted to keep doing content. And about the time I did that Chevy Chase article is when I really pissed off my family. And I was told to basically leave, never to return. And pretty much seems to me like a lot of the other folks seem to be taking, I don't know, the position that that was a good thing for my folks to do instead of just like burying evidence, which is me. I'm kind of like a living human evidence, I guess you could say, of some nefarious things that I think some people would prefer to forget ever happened, which is all well and good. I'd prefer to forget it too, but, they also didn't do anything to make up for it. So this is one episode. So this is what makes this all very, very bizarre, especially this particular episode. This is a montage sequence where Chevy Chase and one of the other guys that he normally doesn't get along with in the group. And this is what's really weird, guys. Chevy Chase's character is named Pierce Hawthorne. Now, guys, the two things that I whistleblown the most on within all the material that I've done involve two key words. One is Pierce and the other one is Hawthorne. I'm going to show you guys. There's a neighborhood called the Hawthorns that was in Fontana. Many of you might remember that. All right. The other thing that I've often mentioned is a case that happened in Pierce County, which unfortunately I can't tell you all the details of because it would force me to say a person's name. And that could be a really, really bad situation. But those who I've talked to separately, you know who it is. But I can't say it out loud on the internet at the moment. I could try to find a clever way to do it, though. Just put it that way. Anyways, but this movie, basically, what tripped me out about this was that it involved this sequence that is Amy Mann singing the song Wise Up. Wise Up, if you know that last clip I just did, it was directed by Gary Weiss. Gary Weiss. Weiss Up. Okay. So Wise Up, Weiss Up. Now, the other part of that, though, is that Amy Mann is pretty figurative. I don't buy her albums really, and but I do have one in particular, and that's the soundtrack to Magnolia. There's a film named Magnolia that basically is what do you want to call it? It's just it's a P.T. Anderson movie that's like an ensemble cast that has lots of different people that all like work that are all like their stories intersect with one another. And it all takes place in like the Los Angeles area. And this song, Amy Mann's Wise Up, plays figuratively in this film. It's a very pinnacle moment right at the crescendo of like the dramatic moment of this very, very intense movie. It's extremely good. I consider Magnolia to be one of the finest films ever made. I make no qualms about saying that. I say that unapologetically, and I won't ever apologize to anybody for my love of that film. I think it is brilliant top down. It was made by a person that understands humanity on a level that very few people can grasp. That's all I know. I don't know what kind of voodoo they got to understand people the way they do, but they got it. And that's Paul Thomas Anderson. And he made this movie that kind of takes some personal elements of the actors' own stories, things that are close to them, and it kind of integrates it into the plot lines, into this incredibly intense movie about forgiveness and about what you can forgive. What are we capable of forgiving? And it's always, just thinking about the movie actually has a strong effect on me, because it's a movie that it fills my heart with a lot of hope, even though it's a really difficult journey to go through. It leaves you with a sense that you can get past it. It's about persevering. It's about like once you've gone, God, it's just a guy. I'm having a hard time even talking about it. But I thought it was weird that this scene references it, guys. It does it the same way that P.T. Anderson does. It's a montage sequence. And so if for those of you like Lisa, I'll try to get you the episode so that you can find the exact scene. When you see it, especially as a person, if you appreciate Magnolia, you'll know what I'm talking about, why this is so bizarrely genius. The color coding of the sombreros and everything. If you understood what was going on right now, purple rain, the green light, there's just some strange things going on here, guys, where I can tell these are some symbolic communicators on a real deep level. So the Muppet movie, I'm going to show you something that I discovered. These are the kind of things that I find, guys. I want you to look at that number. What is that? That's 1313, double 13s. At 13 minutes, 13 seconds into the Muppet movie, this is said. Kermit the Frog basically is put there on the screen between Carol Kane and Telly Savalas. Now, what's trippy about this is the family was big into using actors like Telly Savalas and Carol Kane. If you watch the Cannonball Run series, you'll pretty much have the friends of the family. It's literally like a movie that was like all of their favorite people from that era of 70s and 80s, like where all the 60s, 50s people were merging into the 70s television culture kind of thing. The Rat Pack, like the Farrah Fawcett, the Adrienne Barbeau were the big, sex symbols of women at the time. All of them were in these Cannonball Run movies, but they were making these children's films like the Muppet movies in particular, and Disney still does this and everything else like that the same way. But they do things that are very encoded, guys, and it's very deliberate. This didn't happen by coincidence. I added the captions just because, well, to be honest with you guys, I'm pretty sure I know who this guy is. That's all. And if that guy is who I think he is, then he probably won't mind me doing this, because he was the guy that kept on trying to get me to listen to Paul Simon's Graceland when I was a little kid, which may be why this was all anchored to begin with. Like I said, sometimes there's just people that are like, yeah, they're esoteric, they're high level esoteric, and they know things about timelines, but that doesn't always mean that they're bad. All right. Now, I don't know what this means. I just know that it appears at 1313. My father was born 213. His father was born 213. And all of it happened next to Kaiser Steel. And so again, this is the movie, rather, actually. This is Nothing But Trouble, the Chevy Chase movie. And again, you just look for clues in these things that are seemingly benign, like the driver's license numbers. And so what I tend to do, guys, and I haven't done it yet, but this will be a clue in and of itself. Alfred Flug. Alfred Flug. Red rum. Red Flug. I don't know. Red Puff. Red Puff. Red Puff. PF. I know what that means too. 372 CGB. Cage Gabe. All right. It got even weirder. I don't know. The names, I didn't get all the names in here, but the one in the top left corner says Fields. So again, the Nazi, the my mother's side of the family that's close to all the Nazis were Hatfields. Fields. Fields is up here. This says Arquette. This says Lind. A.R. Ross. C.D. Wayne. This one was like A.L. Luden. A. Luden. And this one was A. Farmer. At the bottom right corner, Farmer was the last name of the character that Chevy Chase played in a film that he did just after this called Funny Farm. And his character's last name was Farmer. Again, inside that same plot line, ex-Nazi rocket scientist vanishes, and then directly underneath it, they put my birthday. Again, my birthday in the same movie with my name represented in letters. And then I noticed this is another trend that I don't have all of the slides available, but a lot of these early Chevy Chase movies reference Brentwood, San Miguel. They reference areas that I've identified being close to the family that were trafficking havens. Brentwood is one name. I've seen it in multiple locations. Queensgate, Queensboro are also used frequently in multiple locations. All are used in addition to San Miguel de Allende, either as backgrounds, like he's holding a box, has a special watch with it, goes past the street with the name on it, or they say hey Fletch, you need to go down to that that hotel on San Miguel. It'll be a line like really benign like that doesn't really have a lot of relevance overall to the plot. But it'll be something that's anchored in the back of your mind where you know that Fletch goes to San Miguel, you know Fletch goes to Brentwood. Or in this movie where they're in court, they keep saying, well, I'm at 242 Lotus Drive in Brentwood. I live in Brentwood. I live in Brentwood. Brentwood I've seen in multiple locations, guys. I even reported on this when I was doing field reports in Hollywood. I even said my chauffeur was Brentwood Limousines. That's another 80s film starring Deborah Foreman that's linked to all this. They have information in them, guys. What is that information and why was it placed there? That's what I've been trying to figure out a little bit. So again, the inverse, 1127 7211 GBAA. These are all the letters inside my name, 1127 to be exact. And then that's when he did this. And if you look at the Lakers watch closely, 72. And then he puts there the line that he even said was calling attention to it. It's a mirror, 72 in the watch, and he says 1127 to be exact. All right, that's all my weird slides involving those Chevy Chase movies that I just located. I mean, there's way more than that, though, guys. He's made, and I don't know, guys. I mean, does he make multiple? Was that the purpose in all these different films? Was it something that he was aware of? Or was it just something that he, as a passive person inside the production of the film, took part in and had no clue about? Did he know why his character was named Pierce Hawthorne in the series community? Did the creator of the series know why he chose the name Pierce Hawthorne to name that to Chevy Chase? Guys, I'm not even messing around here. You guys got to see this. Oh, hang on here. Oh, I did this story. Oh, what was I going to reference, guys? I was just talking. Oh, Hawthorne. See, God, I can tell something's really jamming me right now. Because every time I'm about to do this, I can hear something going, char, 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 and then I can't think of what I was going to think of. It's one of the reasons why I got to keep talking sometimes. As weird as that sounds, man. All right, here it is. See, I told you he plays Pierce Hawthorne, right? Check this out. Hot. It's not the Oregon coast anymore, is it? It's really hot. It's hot. It's hot. It's HAWT. It's hot and horn. Hot and horns. Well, oh, where? It's funny because all these interruptions are happening with bass playing outside. So every time the video gets interrupted, it's associated with boom, 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 boom. It's a hack in, guys, in case you're ever wondering why one might be affiliated with the other. It'll send bit error rates to your connection based on the tones of the audio. It literally jams your connection based on tones. Clever, aren't they? It's not the Oregon coast anymore, is it? It's really hot. It's hot. It's hot. It's HAWT. It's hot and horns. Hot and horns. Well, where is it hot and where do devils have horns? In hell. Oh. You see, guys, the zodiacs, the modern zodiacs are hiding a secret. One of those secrets is in Southern California. It's in the symbolism. I'm not making any claims here. I'm not making any suggestions or anything like that. I'm just asking those of you who are in the know about what's what. What is that? Hot and horny. Well, it's an H, yeah, but looks a little bit like horns. A griffin. Dragons, a griffin. Sacrifice. Have you looked inside this neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not saying these people are bad or anything like that. I'm saying that, do you know what's underneath? What's underneath the infrastructure? What's underneath the infrastructure in a lot of neighborhoods in Southern California and Nevada? Well, I've been researching something that's connected to my lineage. I don't know how to say, you guys. I know all these areas because I've traveled them many, many times in my youth. You know, when I was younger, I lived in Las Vegas and I would come to this region and spend time with my family. And, you know, I didn't know about this area here, but this is situated between Hellman, and Archibald. The Hawthorns. So what I learned, guys, is that there's some pretty like nice neighborhoods down here that operate as fronts for trafficking. I'm not saying this is one of them. I'm just saying that you know that they're not always going to do it in like, you know, neighborhoods that are lower income. A lot of times they're going to have special systems set up, safe houses, areas where you know that you can go in and pass through safely and that the activities will be allowed. Where would they set these places up? Where would the safe houses go? They're underground. See, what I've been locating, guys, is a number of neighborhoods
master planned communities that have access to underground silos, bunkers. Some are former military facilities that have been repurposed, and they just create a tunnel system that gets in there. And then a person can go inside the neighborhood, go into a tunnel system, and then wind up in there. Are they doing it here? I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying. So if you look into the ciphers, though, relative to this area, there's a whole network of actors that are connected to the Hellman network. Some of my family, I'm not going to say which ones exactly at the moment because that takes too long, but yeah, some of them are connected to the Monty Hellman network. So again, down there is.
All right. Now look what's happened since I made those stories, guys. Did you know what happened? Check this out. I told you they're connected to Monty Hellman. Now watch this. Hey, look at this. How about that? Rancho Mirage. Yep, it's a Rancho Mirage. It's a big mirage in Rancho Cucamonga on Hellman Avenue, where the Hawthorns are, and Archibald, Hawthorns, Hellman. Hot horns is hell. Devils have horns. It's hot where they have horns. That is hell. The Hellman. The Moan Tea Hellman. What is Moan Tea? It's tea. It is something you can sip or drink that is traumatized. Moan Tea. Old Monty Hellman helped start guess whose career? He was a producer on the Reservoir Dogs. Quentin Tarantino. He was a producer on Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino's first Hollywood production. Starting to get it, folks? This is what is kind of happening right now. This is a big deal. What I just showed you is a big, big deal. That they would prefer to go, wah, wah. You see, what the media does is, I can give it all to you. And they bragged about this to me. Go ahead, Gabe, tell everybody. It won't make any difference. They're never going to understand you. They won't do anything. I was challenged. It's not a good thing to challenge me with, actually, because it's kind of what I excel at. I'm usually pretty good at taking really, really complicated things and just because I'm a pretty simple-minded person, guys. For me to understand it to begin with, I have to break it down to pieces very simple for me to get. And then once I understand it, then I go, oh, okay, here's how I pieced it all together for my monkey brain. I'm sure I can teach other people with brains like mine how to do this too, or how this works also. That's all. You know, like building something, though, from the ground up, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like some people can design a lot of things like that. And I'm better at more like, how do I say it? More decrypting, deciphering, and, you know, that kind of thing is what I'm better at. But designing things from the top down, I've done it. I've designed cell towers, but no, I mean, I wouldn't say that would be an expertise, but so yeah, folks, the synchronicities are weird. And I think the reason why these are all happening is because what I just showed you with that Hawthorne story and everything like that. Yeah, some of these are artificial synchronicities. I think these are people disappearing. Like I'm revealing to you guys that a lot of these Hollywood producers and directors, they don't exist. You know, they are just something that's made up to get everybody to go like, oh, that's my favorite producer. That's my favorite director. And sometimes it is just the character actor that shows up and is in charge of an economy. And they don't really have much to do with making films aside from just showing up. They're a buffer. And the people that make the things that influence you, they want to be more directly involved at that creative level and to put their influence into it, because the whole point of this is thoughts become things, whatever is in their creative work, especially when it's binded to an area like Fontana. where there's that energy line underneath the Kaiser steel area, that's transferable energy. You're literally bringing in all the influence. I want you to think about this, guys. Arnold Schwarzenegger made a movie at Kaiser Steel. Then he became governor of California, where in the state, he literally became the governor and ran the state right where that energy line was housed underneath in Hollywood, where he received all of his influence. I'm just telling you, this is the energy behind the energy that you understand if you don't already understand this yet. That's all. He didn't just get to be the governor because the media is really good at going like, I'll be back. I swear. I want to be your governor. I'm tired of Newsom. Recall Newsom. I want to be your governor. Sorry, I know he's not running right now. But you know what I'm saying? Like you know, what are we getting now? I guess we have, if we don't get the celebrity Schwarzenegger, we have what, Jenner? We have Caitlyn Jenner to pick from because she's qualified, right? You know, what could go wrong? And then Randy Quaid. And they're both like the alternative. I don't know what you want to call what they're doing or something like that. But really, guys, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I thought Randy Quaid was funny as Cousin Eddie in the Vacation movies and everything like that. And I understand he's politically minded and he's gone through a lot of crap, but I don't know. Running Man. Okay, Fred. Running Man was filmed at Kaiser Steel. 2 films at Kaiser Steel that gave Arnold Schwarzenegger influence. I'm just telling you guys, it is way, way deeper than just a person is super popular and you like them. There's this energy. It's plasma. It runs through these energy lines that are underground. It radiates like a beacon going, woo, 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 woo. And it's just something that you're just not sensing oftentimes on the surface. You just don't get why. Why does Arnold Schwarzenegger seem like a good idea? Why would I not reject that idea immediately? Why wouldn't I go like, dude, I loved Commando and everything like that, but seriously, the guy that said those crappy lines, you want him running my government? Oh, you know, they like, come on, relax, dude. He's going to have lots of advisors. Still, I don't know. Anyways, guys. That's kind of where I wanted to end things, you know, just to think a little bit about how energy is derived, how influence is derived, how do we gain, you know, how do all of these things really come into manifestation? I mean, I can play more if you guys would like more. I can stay on, but I'm just trying to think of what else I can add to this one, because I did have other thing. I felt like I had more that I wanted to talk about relevant to this, and that I'm forgetting something very, very important. I try to do things pretty stream of consciousness to where I'm not like just going blah, 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 reading off of some things. So, but yeah, guys, I am in a funding shortage right now. So because of all the time that I've been suspended, I had 2 weeks offline on the main channel. I had to do all my traffic on the side channel that only has like 5% pretty much of the subscribership of the main channel. So I didn't really get that much outreach going on there. So any folks that would like to contribute, this would be a very welcome time if you could. I'd very much appreciate that. It would help me get through a couple of you know, challenges going on right now. Also, if you're interested in these biowell measurements that I'm doing, like I've shown you in Energetics 11, if you would like there to be, well, I can keep going if you've got more things you want me to talk about, guys. I certainly don't mind. Because I've actually, I mean, there's more that I can speak to on this point, actually. But so let me just do this quick commercial break just so I can get that out of the way. I'll do another half hour, guys, because I really feel like I'm missing. I have a couple more videos that I wanted to show that's relevant to this, that I feel like if I don't show them to you, it's going to leave gaps in what I'm discussing here. Yeah. So again, guys, like, yeah, so I'll like, if you guys didn't know, this channel, the one, I don't know which one, because I'm looking at a chat for both of them. Just so you know, my main channel got suspended for 2 weeks. So if you saw me, that's because you're one of the people that actually subscribes to the Mirror channel. So if you're not subscribed to 2 of my channels, please subscribe to both of them. Otherwise, you'll never get all of the content. And I'm going to do it that way for a while, just because I need to get people to go over to the Mirror channel. And then eventually I'm just going to make all the live streams over there on the Mirror. And then new content that's standard documentaries and things like that, I'll put all of it, live reports and things, on the main Gabriel Cruise Research channel. But I've got to kind of keep that channel safe, the main channel safe, because it just has so much content on it that if they cancel that channel, it's going to be just a lot of work. I mean, I could handle it, but it would take so much work to get it all restored, you know? Yeah. All right. So, relevant to the whole thing. Okay. So keeping on with this topic involving Fontana, that's when I started doing more of this research relevant to sort of like the Chevy Chase locations, and seeing if he had some of these energy line locations too. And what I learned, guys, is when you start mapping all of the Chevy Chase filming locations, you'll start to notice that he lines up at the same trajectory at 33 degrees with a lot of locations that I've been visiting over the last couple months. I did reports up at Lake Arrowhead. It's called the Rim of the World Highway. It's in San Bernardino County, and it's kind of as you're leaving the LA, well, not LA, but the San Bernardino Valley, Inland Empire Valley. If you're heading up towards Barstow, leaving Southern California, heading towards Nevada, that area. And there's a mountain range up there where I did a whole series of stories where I would just got my life meter like running, and I was excited to use it now that I I had a little bit of freedom. I could get around. I was really trying to drive to different locations and get life meter readings as often as I could. And that's when I was like measuring the tree and things like that. Well, a lot of those locations that I wound up aligning to were with Deal of the Century starring Chevy Chase and a ziggurat. Actually, I'll show you that really quick. Where's the ziggurat? All right. Did I put that in here or no? No, I didn't. All right. So let me go to this, and then I'll look up ziggurat. Here it is.
Hey everybody, this is a ziggurat here in California. I'm not sure exactly technically what this area is called, to be honest with you. I just located on the map, and it's had a lot of different names, but it's located kind of near Irvine area in California. And it's relevant to me because this film is where there's quite a few films I think that they did here, but in particular the film Deal of the Century starring Chevy Chase, Gregory Hines, and Sigourney Weaver. And it was about defense contractors. It was about sort of like the competition between various defense contractors in competition to sell weapons to various countries around the world. And I learned about this building that was actually built for Rockwell International. And then because it was around the time of the Vietnam War, some of the business was winding down, and so it never got occupied for any actual defense projects. And so now it serves various functions. It's, a general purpose office building, but it's been a federal building at times. It's done, various types of companies or whatever. But the point is, the ziggurat as a structure, what it represents esoterically is highly relevant. And the shape and the stacked pyramid nature of it, the way the cornerstones are aligned, very relevant. This one in particular has 33.33 degree alignments, 333.33 degree alignments, and I believe a 30.33 degree alignment. It's pretty interesting. And it was through this exact ziggurat, okay, and watching Deal of the Century, that gave me sort of the etheric link using the 33 and the third degree line. It gave me that etheric link to start researching an area that was well beyond up there in Northern California, but north of here, near like the Victorville, Apple Valley. Actually, it's Lucerne Valley area. So when you follow the line that goes from this ziggurat right here, okay, at 33 degrees, 33.33 degrees from the top, it winds up going across the valley up into California and goes across the Twin Peaks, Lake Arrowhead, kind of Big Bear Lake area near, is it Skyline or something like that's the name of the town? And then it keeps going on until you're in the Lucerne Valley area, and that's exactly where they filmed Buckaroo Banzai in the Eighth Dimension, which is about space-time manipulation. And if you know anything about the Ziggurat of Ur in Iraq, a very similar concept in construction and everything like that, then you'll know the connection to Stargates. More on that later.
Okay, guys, that scene I just showed you, okay, this is the kind of weird shit. I didn't explain it. I just kind of dropped that in there as a clue for people. That last slide, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to reveal all. Usually I like to keep some things for people to figure out, but this I have to tell you about because I don't think anybody's ever going to figure it out independently. All right, that's a scene from Funny Farm. Now, a lot of the angles that I've observed that Chevy Chase is lined up with are specifically 33.33 degrees. And this is not just him. This is things involving pyramids and everything. 33.33 degrees. So here's a scene, a boat scene, very funny in the film Funny Farm, starring Chevy Chase, where all the guys are wearing the number 3 and they're in a fishing boat competition. So it's hard to capture all of them doing it at once, but because it's a blink and you'll miss a thing. But when they're all standing up, it says 33.33, and it lines it up left to right. I was like, dude, these things could not possibly be happening for no reason. I just don't believe it, okay? I just don't believe it. I don't. I think that I absolutely had intent. I'm pretty sure that Funny Farm was directed by George Roy Hill. And I watched that movie with a critical eye, and a lot of the lines aren't, I mean, it's not one of the best movies that he did, but some of the lines just have such bizarre dialogue that you're like, who wrote that and why? And then sometimes they were like puns for family members' names or the bloodline names and things like that. And I'm going, they're dropping clues. After a while, I just stopped denying it. Like, there's got to be people that knew what was going on. So how would they reveal it all? Or were they revealing it, or were they just telling other people how the ecosystem works? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't get that negative feelings about Chevy Chase overall. And I feel like he's the kind of guy that maybe they figured out that he was doing things like this, I don't know, with some of the other filmmakers. And that's one of the reasons why they made him go through so much crap, you know, because he did kind of experience some bad luck there for a while, you know, for several years. So I don't know. Hang on really quick though. And so, yeah, that led me to a whole bunch of other data sets, you know, once you leave the deal of the century thing there. I mean, guys, let's just review this critically about the Masonic temples. Like, what is that exactly? Take a look at that compass thing there. What is everything I'm talking about here? Is it not that? See the Masonic temple, the compass and the protractor. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, the angles, right? .33. How do you measure that? You know, compasses, yeah, but I mean, when you're dealing with maps and everything like that, you see the Masons just know a lot, and it's one of the reasons why the groups that are malevolent want to be perceived as them, because they want their power. And if they're not them and they can't be perceived like them, then they just want to beat them. That's it. Nazis aren't that complicated when it's all said and done, and they really don't like the Masons. And that's the reason why I'm just open to people. Again, guys, I'm not running around trying to tell you like going, yay, 33 and Freemasons, I love them. It's not a commercial or anything like that. It's just helping people understand that they're not all bad and they know a lot about these things. And so you'd be better off making friends with them instead of going like, bad Freemasons, I heard you all study the Illuminati. And that's all. There's like, you know, if you turn your back on these people, it's not a good thing. They know a lot. And that's why this meter, I think, was fascinating to me, because I was bridging the link between what's etheric, what we have in movies, right? These 33 degree lines. Like, what does that mean? What does that line mean? Well, that's it. Like, you go to a filming location and you anchor to the center, and just think about it as simple as this, guys, that your brain processes these threes constantly. There's something about the way your brain is unpackaging threes into structuring reality. And so you put all of these really popular film like actors and director, producer, whatever, into one location simultaneously, and you anchor them there, and you have them all. It's, guys, they're not just there. It's plasma soup. You know what I mean? They're all there making a movie, and they're all emitting bioplasma in the same geographic location simultaneously. So I'm asking you to unpackage the process of how we unravel reality within our 3D perception. We do it through the processing of threes. We do it through the Fibonacci sequence and sharing plasma fields that are pinging back and forth with these oscillating frequencies, going threes, 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 over and over again. It just keeps processing in the back of our minds to structure reality and form it into place. And really what these guys are doing is they're just, they're all showing up, and that all feeds influence into a physical anchor, or what we perceive to be physical, because it's all non-physical. We think it's physical because this feels physical right now. How do I argue that this is physical matter if I can touch it and I can't stick my finger through it just by thinking about it? That's solid matter, because we all agree it is. Not because it is. It's a shared agreement. So when you think that through a little bit deeper, and it'll make sense why we link based on these 33-degree principles and loops of threes and constant succession of threes, triple-sided pyramids, the pyramid having the triangles on each side, right? Why? And why are they powerful energy structures with those threes? It's because it's a machine that is kind of tapping into how we structure reality. That's it. And amplifying it and re-radiating it. And then I asked myself, well, if Chevy Chase made a movie at a ziggurat like Deal a Century, I wonder what happened as a result of all those actors going to that ziggurat that may have been off harmonic. I think the ziggurat that I showed you in that story just now is a poorly designed ziggurat. I don't know this based on my measurements. I'm telling you this based on the history of the building. It seems like whoever built the building knew after it was done that it was a horrible mistake. It's like initially they thought, we're going to tap into this esoteric science. We're going to do something incredible here. We're going to build this structure. It's going to have all these alignments, and it's going to be all these cool things, and it's going to be right here in California, and it's going to be a defense building. It was supposed to be for Rockwell, which is ironic because not ironic, but fitting that they would film it there, because that was the whole point. It was about a bloated defense contractor and the way they all compete for each other's businesses, And then when you look at the history of the building, you learn that they abandoned it, and not abandoned it, but they just never occupied it in any way. Because why do you think? It's because the energy was toxic. The energy is poison. It's bad energy. And the building will generate more negative energy. It's not designed properly. The way it's structured is to create negative energy. So when you add in Hollywood producers and actors and things like that, and put them all there on that physical location that produces all that negative energy, I almost feel like somebody did that to curse him. As cynical as that sounds, it almost feels like somebody kind of was like trying to hex the guy and just try out different things. It feels like that way to me sometimes. I don't know why. I do. I'm just aware of how these things work now. A lot of it was that if you saw my material last night, I was trying to show you guys that one called The Mechanics of Negative Energy that Valery Uvarov wrote. And that is excellent. That's really getting to the crux of what I'm talking about. I have this sense that part of that was just trying things out. Could they curse? Could they hex at an industrial scale using this technology? Yeah, I think that's kind of what was happening. it's important the way you design these structures is all. That's the thing that I've learned. And especially when you read the article, The Mechanics of Negative Energy by Yuvarov from Wands of Horus, that's when it really, really makes a lot of sense. That if you, and then on top of it, if just a lot of traumatizing things happen at the location, on top of it, just generating negative energy. Guys, can you imagine a major defense contractor building a massive building like that, then not really moving into it and doing anything with it? And then using the excuse like, well, business is winding down, because it was like the end of the Vietnam War was the excuse, was like, well, there's not as much of a need to have this massive facility where we're selling bombs and guns and things like that. So, okay, or missiles or whatever they were doing, right? But really? I mean, do you think that was why? I think they discovered that the building had negative energy. And I think the people that really do these things, yeah, they're at that level of knowledge where they do think these things through in advance. They do think about a cornerstone in the building. And guys, cornerstones, I mean, a lot of times the whole point of the cornerstone is the sacrifice. They'll say it's about something else, but no, to those in the know, yeah, a cornerstone is where the death occurs, that anchors and binds the sacrifice of the human to the physical layer of the building, and those who believe in those things. And ritual sacrifice is performed for new buildings in many countries around the world. It's an expectation. The locals will even know it. In America, they're just like going, yeah, I hear those things happen in dark circles. No, it happens here. It happens in Europe. It doesn't just happen in, they're always trying to blame it on these other, countries where it's, somebody of another color or something like that, instead of these European nations and things like that. I'm not trying to get racial here, guys. I'm just telling you, like, ritual sacrifice is not something that's, and I don't have to tell you this, but it's not something that's exclusively practiced by tribes and things like that in the middle of some, jungle. They always want you to think that, it's got to be some Aboriginal tribe that's practicing some ancient esoteric, like, well, they're so primitive. No, guys, there are these people that are alleging to be all sophisticated and have millions of dollars and things like that. They're the real cannibals. They're the real blood drinkers because of everything I've discussed tonight. What it brings you, what it gives you influence-wise over others, and what you can achieve with mass resonance manipulation and just generally getting what you want in the world, just by consuming a little bit of plasma from an Rh negative or an O blood type, and then knowing what to do with it. Sadly. I was in a public school that was a specialized classroom. Someone asked if I was in public school, gifted or extended program. I was in what's called talented and gifted, and it was at Wellington Elementary School in Woodinville, Washington. I think they call that area Wood Duval now. Yeah, and it was just a class that you take an IQ test, and depending on your rank and your percentile, they would select you, and then you were basically, the tag classrooms were in the same thing as a public school. So you rode a public school bus. It was a different one than everybody else did, though, but you did go to the same physical school as all the other kids did. And when you arrived, you just had special classes that were like towards the end of the building that were more for your group. At the end of the building, I feel like we were, though. Where the hell were we? It doesn't really matter, I guess. But they basically had us sandwiched. They had primary and intermediate classes, and then there's like two main teachers and then like a couple of other side teachers that would come in and do other types of things, like work with us, like we were experiments, I guess, like student teacher type roles, where it almost seemed like they were kind of studying us as student teachers, And then it was 1982, 1983, 1984 to 1985 that I was in that particular one. A lot of interfacing us with early computers like the Commodore PET, Commodore computers, and getting us to do that type of thing. So I have a feeling I know what tag was about. I think what they were literally doing was trying to cross 50% of the kids with the other 50% of the kids. I think the point was to those of us who had measured ability to pair us with somebody that would basically shadow us. And since in my case, the person that was in the tag classroom was my own brother, made it extremely easy to do in mine. Now, what the other kids went through, I don't know, but I know that's what happened in mine. I was effectively shadowed and mirrored by my brother. Being straight up with you guys, we're 3 years apart. I entered into the tag classroom when I was in 3rd grade. And then right next door, quite literally, all I had to do was pass through a door that stayed open nearly all day long. That connected the 2 classrooms together, and I just popped my head in, and there was my brother. And so the kids would move back and forth between the classes seamlessly in ways where it was nearly undetectable from the outside which kid was in which classroom. So again, that's how close I was with my brother. I couldn't even get away. I shared a bunk bed with him, shared a room with him, and even when I went to freaking school, there he was. And I don't mind telling you, he was a real dick when he was a little kid. He's just obnoxious, man. Just like to beat things up. He's just that kind of guy, man. When he was younger, just had a lot of anger. So we got along sometimes, but it was mostly, I was kind of a peacekeeper kid and everything like that. But yeah, I did not enjoy being in the classroom with my brother. And I can prove that happened, guys. If they want the outside world to believe that it was just one person that existed in that program, that's not how it happened. My brother entered the program before me. He took the same IQ test. And guys, you'll love this. I think the difference between our scores was like a few points. I'm technically a higher IQ though. And that's acknowledged in the family. Nobody even debates that. I technically have a higher IQ than my brother, but nobody would ever debate whether or not he's achieved greater things with engineering and whatnot when it comes to like projects he's worked on. He's done things in nuclear and all types of like sophisticated actual electrical and mechanical engineering projects. And what I did was wireless design. It's not the same thing. There's an art to it though. I'm not dismissing what I did in my career, but it's not the same thing as engineering the types of things that he did. And I'll acknowledge that, So strange. But yeah, lots of interesting kids in that program, but I did notice that, I don't know. It was, I think a lot of it was to do a little bit of this early thing involving the program relative to organ harvesting. I think they knew who the psychic kids were, and the misnomer, like in the 70s, like in the late 70s, you had like Brian De Palma's movie where they showed like one of these Paragon institutes that does psychic research actually going to schools and saying like, hey, we just want to try this out and give a lecture to your students and things like that. And they do, and they go like, wow, this person's gifted. Would you be interested in being part of our special program? Well, that's how it went back then. And you had this notion that that's how it worked, that once you got there, that there was going to be these nice people that cultivate your, abilities, unless, of course, like in the movie, dun, 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 they have negative intentions and they're going to take that person for their special abilities. Well, what I learned in my history is that they tried desperately to make sure that you're completely unaware that you have any ability at all. They even want you to think that you're kind of dumb if they can. They would much prefer that you think that you're untalented and dumb so that nobody has a clue what your real abilities are. And then if somebody wants to come to you for your abilities, guess what they're going to have to do? Go through your gatekeeper. Guess who my gatekeeper is? The same asshole who was in my tag classroom since I was 8-year-old. He still gets to shadow me. He still gets to claim achievements of mine as his if he wants to. What can I do about it? They say it to my own face. What are you going to do about it? You're only gay because we say you are. I just don't think that's true. So, yeah. Yeah, there's something going on, guys. I'm telling you. I think what the whole thing was about was learning who the kids are who are intelligent, who had blood groups that were significant to the overall genome project, because it's a lot like that plot line in the movie Hell Comes to Frogtown. At some point, like a seed bank, they're going to need genetic seeds, right? Why would there not be a human genetic seed bank out there someplace? Somebody thought of it. Somebody had the idea. All right. Now, what if I learned that a bunch of the people that had that idea and were close to it fudged all the numbers and said, we're the special ones. They're losers over there, especially those ones. And the ones that they're calling losers and saying are not the real ones are the real ones. Think on that one for a while. Because I think something like that happened. I think the reason why these people got into the Human Genome Project was so they could, number one, classify a certain group as special and protected, then make it themselves and not the real people. Then they proceeded to attack the real people who have the real genetics so they could replace them in the public perception and erase the real ones and make sure they never have influence. And I do think I'm one of them. I know what I have naturally, you guys. I was selected in a job that I had specifically because I was good at talking to people. I'm not a bullshit artist. I don't manipulate people. I'm just real. They know that about me. And so when I got selected to do tower design, it's not so much because I was the best designer. It's not because I understood theory like nobody's business. Guys, I couldn't even tell you the difference between DBD and DBI. And that's a pretty basic RF engineer question. Now I can answer it. Decibel over interlace. One is a raw measurement and one is one taking into account actual attenuation factors and patterning, whatever. I'm not going to get into that, but and I actually know the number between DBD and DBI that's a difference. But when I did my interview, I couldn't answer that basic question. And that would be something that most engineers would be like, seriously, you don't know that? I mean, even as a technician, they would expect me to know that. But I couldn't answer that. So the reason why I got that job was, yeah, I could do the job, mind you. I was good. But it's mostly because I just knew how to talk to people and I had influence. And so they figured that out, guys. And all I'm trying to do now is to say, like, fine, whatever it is that they were using to tap into, I want to have a say in it, me personally. So that's what this is about. This is me saying, okay, these are the topics that I know that most people, I think, care about, they want to have talked about, but that nobody will do it intelligently or honestly. You know, it's always done in that kind of like, you know, well, let's see if we can spin this, you know, tweak that a little bit there. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be one venue that talks about these things in a way that's just straightforward, takes out the fluff and just gives you straight raw data, like right, you know, like here's how it is, but without any of the nonsense and the, you know, whatever. So yeah. So I think that's what it's about. I think that they're really just they're trying to elevate themselves. Some of these people that are doing this as a special class of genetics, and maybe some of them are. But the point would be that they're trying to eliminate those protections for other people, give it solely to themselves, and then misrepresent themselves as like these holy people from some ancient blood group or some shit like that. And guys, even if I have this, I really don't even like talking about it in those terms. To me, it's just really that eventually, wherever source DNA comes from, the last person that had the most of it runs out and dies, and then it goes on to the next person. And who is that person? Sometimes it just happens to be you, and then nobody wants to tell you because they don't want you to know what your value is. Because then you might actually be able to start bidding wars and get people to like actually compensate you for your genetics. They don't want that. They would much rather go like, victim, victim, bad person, blacklist, blacklist. Now we can do whatever we want. He's free. He's not going to ask for the highest bidder. He's free. He's lucky to stay alive, and we're going to control him. So that's what I'm saying, guys. You got to look deeper into who these labs are that run these things, you know. All right, guys, I got to go though tonight, and I do appreciate everybody joining. Thank you very, very much for doing that. In the description below is where all my contact details are for hiring me for those measurements or for contributions, guys. Anything you can do right now for contributions, I would really appreciate it. I took a huge dent to my channel and my income, and I'm kind of stuck right now, folks. So I would really appreciate it if folks could help out. Anything you could do would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for joining, and have a good night.